I'm also into solar PV installation.
Awesome. Fantastic. And I know aside, okay, it's a cameraman. All right, any other person? Introductions?
Introduce yourself. Yes, sir. My name is
Your name is what?
Adekunle
Shegun.
Shegun. Cryptocurrency.
Cryptocurrency. All right. Thank you so much. Start. They are not controlling the money. They are not that help me select my views. All right, so we've done introductions, and basically, I think that's one of the most important things that you can actually have in a setting and a meeting, right? And that I think is the least harnessed in any form of meeting, whether it's a business meeting, whether it's a training, whether it's a conference, whatever the program is, please understand. If there's anything that you're looking to give from a space where 2 or 3 are bringing themselves together, it's your introduction. Do you understand? Not even the conversations we did. Now, I'm not saying the conversations don't matter, but we don't put too much energy as opposed to what does he want to say. For example, you probably are looking to hear from me or looking to rub minds together with me, right or wrong? Right? Good. But your introductions matter a lot because it's from introductions that economists take place. Right? I can tell you for a fact that if I don't say anything and I pick the introductions one after the other, for some of you I might not remember accurately your name, but I remember what you do. And for some of you I don't know the name of the outfit that you run with your church. And that's where the possibility starts. The moment I begin to need more information from you, it means that we are not even clear as to who we are. Are you the seat or are you a human being? You know, it's so clear. If you want to sit down, what do you sit on? Talk to me now. Are you in doubt whether this is a chair or not? No. It's very clear. If I have to describe that thing is not a statue, that is powerhouse, it's actually a chair, then that thing is really not clear, is it? Yes. The moment any one of us need extra information about who we are, about what we do, at the point of introduction, it means you are not clear. Are we together? So, going forward, don't mess with your introduction. Don't play with your introductions. In fact, your introduction is everything. Did you get it? What did I say? The way I say it doesn't sound like everything. What did I say? So I'm an unusual kind of person. You won't expect me to say certain things regularly people say. I'm not the regular. I've never been regular. I don't think I'm going to be regular anytime soon. But you see, introductions matter because if you look at it, some of you might have to have rehearsed your introduction based on the purpose of it. And I share these things anytime I go to places. I share these experiences with people. I remember the very first time I had the opportunity to sit close to Dangote on the table. And it's because of this thing I'm talking to you about, I had an issue being able to introduce myself. So imagine that kind of opportunity for over 30 or 45 minutes. And then we're looking at each other and I said, smiling, and doing and then this time my mind I'm thinking, what do I say? Then I look up again and I see, you know when you put your face eyeball to eyeball, and then I do like this again. And then I came very sweaty in my palm. And you know when you see it on TV, people like, you bet that with it, and you beat that with it. I sat beside that. There's a difference, you being in the room is different from meeting the first stage. In fact, if you're on TV, you've got better access. I'm just some city away. And I was saying in my mind, maybe this was actually a very sad. I'm a very, very fan. My mind said that didn't sound right. Look for another introduction. Hello, sir. I just want to meet you. I am a business consultant and I'm the solution to the problems that you have. Excuse me. Where you be You know, so a lot of things happened till the time I decided that, you know what, I'm going to say it anyway. Anyhow, I'll pick it out. At least let me talk. Isn't it different? The ones that happened is the chase out for that. Guess what, guys? As at the time I made my mind up, he stood up. Yeah. And that's what I want to share with you the next thing. As much as you do not go into your introduction, you need to recognize that the opportunity of a lifetime exists in a lifetime of opportunity. So every opportunity has expiring date. So you get it. Every opportunity has an expiring date. So if you've ever picked up a product, maybe bread, maybe gas, maybe juice, notice that there's always best before, isn't it? Some people don't like to use the word expiring because it makes the customer think of something's going to spoil. So they don't want to use the word spoil, so they say best before. So if you want the best, it's better you take it before that day. After that day, you can't promise freshness, you can't promise taste, you can't promise originality anymore. Of course, you yourself know, for things that are preserved, if they say best before, you might as well don't try to find out what happens just after. You know, so the risk is higher when it's after the before date, you understand? And that's the same we should treat ourselves. That's the same we should treat our lives. That's the same we should treat our business. And that's the same way we should treat time and opportunity that we have. So the opportunity you have with me exists in the lifetime of the opportunity that I'm here. Yes, sir. Yes. You know, I've had many times where people say, a good opportunity. No, when the session is over, so that we'll have the session together. Why do you want to engage when the session is over? You know why? You can't control or predict when the session is over. Am I making sense? Yes, sir. I don't want to interactive session. Am I making sense? Yes, sir. Can you hear me at work? You can. Fantastic. All right. So I was told that I was going to meet with thought leaders, and I was excited about it. And I think you guys should know that that's what they said you guys are. So are you thought leaders? Yes, sir. Or I'm not? No, sir. Actually, like let's not use. They're not exactly what I do. But the one that should be here, he should be here. Right? So I'm meeting with thought leaders in Benin-city, that is a roundtable conference. There's no table, but you understand what I mean, right? So there are certain things I will share with you, and I probably will open the floor for questions if the sequence is right. I'll share with you three things. Someone say three things. Three things. And because I know some people might be connecting with us from YouTube. So I will try to make it in such a pattern that is sequenced in thought. Whether you're a business person, which most of us are, a technical an enterprise person, your partner in the business, your founder, or whatever you find yourself, there's certain things that I think you must be aware of, starting from your person to your pursuit. And it's what I call the general rule that we most times find ourselves in. So that by the time we're asking questions, or probably by the time I add additional thoughts to what I think you should be doing, because I want to learn from you, mind you, you're not just learning from me. That would be unfair. I want to also learn from you. Is that fine? Yes. So it's a 50-50. Win-win, right? Yes. You shouldn't win and I should lose. Or you don't like that arrangement. So can I learn from you? Yes. Would you allow me to learn from you? Or you do therapy? All right, so very quickly, is my voice audible? Fantastic. So what I'll say is this: for every business, for every individual, for every pursuit and every industry, we always find the number one thing that where people start from is called the default mode. Businesses most times start from that. Individuals most times actually find themselves on that. Most of the opportunities that we play with, or the opportunities that we harness, most of the activities that we do, most of the ideas, the project that we start on, they start on that mood. Check it very well. It's the foundation for every new thing. It's called default mode. Most of those things we solve with the naked eye. So think about it, the bottled water you're holding. Maybe somebody's into the business of water. You probably have seen, yes or no, that there's a need. Talk to me now. Help me. You saw that there's a need, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And when we saw that need, boom, we decided to do something about it. Business in water came up. That is what? Default. By default, to the extent of what we see, how much of what we see, guess what happens? That's what we do. You think about it that somebody saying happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, boom. She thinks about it. She brought a cake into the equation. By default, for every birthday, there should be what? There should be a cake. Why? Because it's something that is default mode. Birthdays should have cake, isn't it?
Yes.
Or maybe wedding, or maybe anniversaries, or celebrations, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Somebody's thinking about it that of course people will get hungry. You can't stay 24 hours without feeling the wrong in your tummy, yes or no? And then someone came into the equation and said, you know what? By default, there should be someone into farming, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And someone stands up and says, I want to go to this area, farming, to provide food, because there will always be hunger as long as the human race stands, yes or no?
Yes.
And then, of course, some people know that money has what we call money velocity. Wait until money comes from, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Not everybody will have money the time they need it. But you know what? If some platforms rise up, they can actually create equity distribution of funds, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Is that not why you guys are on? Fantastic. Dollar pay, isn't it? Yes. You rose up because of what you can see. That is from your default mode. Are we together? Yes. Same thing. Someone who is into makeup industry or beauty industry, right? And then you think about it, people love to look good. People love to feel enhanced. People want to meet up with the occasion. The demand of the occasion is let's beautify ourselves. So there's a regular day, there's a special day in most cases, right? There's an important day in most cases, right? You thought about it that I can step into that situation to meet the need. Why? It's a default mode. And everyone here, if I profile the business one after the other, you will discover, even for the person who is leaving the bank, and if it's the only title and appellation to his name is ex-banker. The truth about it is there's a reason why you allow yourself to be an ex, isn't it? Because after X, there's Y, there's Z. Just, isn't it? So the moment he finds the Y and Z, you will realize that on the default mode, if you feel this is no longer the way forward, what's the default thing to do? To change the course of action, isn't it? And one of the things that you found that was necessary for you to do was to leave where you were. You became an ex-banker. Default, someone says default. I warn you, as sweet as it can sound, as beautiful as it can look, as also sometimes rewarding as it can be, never you stay long in default mode. Did you hear me? The biggest fool is one who builds an empire on his default. Did you hear me? Because naturally, our default mode cannot produce sustenance for growth and possibilities that you really desire and deserve. Are you following me? Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
You will need many things to happen or many things to stay in status quo for you to thrive on default mode. That's why yes, sometimes we say all things being equal. Think about it in the competitive world we live in now. Can all things be equal? With the disruptions that we are seeing from time, things can never be equal. Even nature has turned itself to technology. This year, nobody thought about there's something called pandemic. The world itself brought innovation, not things now, not people. The world said, okay, I've been watching this. Sometimes you call one company, say, sometimes you call one software company, say, sometimes you look at the country, say, hey, The one said, this said we can do something. So all over the world, there was a default. Yes or no?
Yes.
And you found out that there's something that is always particular. The moment there is a global change, or there's a social change, or there's an industry change, it totally commands business change and ultimately commands individual or personal change. Have you noticed? Most of our change agenda from default mode is what we call growth. This is what you're going to do next. Because you designed it. So you hope that when you do it next, it will change the way things are done. Isn't it? And then when you change the way things are done, you want to respond to maybe at a sectoral level, and maybe probably at an industry level, maybe probably at a global level. Is that not?
Yes.
But look at the one that is faster, look at the one that is more effective and powerful. If your industry changes today, automatically you have to change. Whether it was in your agenda or not. Whether it was your 5th-year plan, you know, sometimes some of us will have 5-year plan. You have projected your response to certain things that in year 5 you will do this. Sometimes year 5 becomes year 1 because of what? Industry change. You know, a lot of us before now saw it as a thing of privilege, saw it as a thing of class, saw it as a thing of preference. People were able to do certain platforms before. Webinars were not common thing like pure water. Zoom was a strange tool in some people's hand. This year, Zoom is as known as Facebook. I don't know where I get my point. For some people, there are certain platforms they will never have explored. As on their own plan, he was not there. He was not even the first 5. That, okay, I want to learn some tools. I want to learn some. He wasn't there. Let's be honest. Maybe it was plan 6, plan 7. You knew it, but you've not mastered it. But guess what? Just because of global change, industry change, sectoral change, social change, individual change had to happen. We saw it, even churches. Certain things that people even had as their personal philosophy. You have to be in the presence of God. And when we say presence, we mean physically. You know, people have to change it. And people are saying that, you know, God is everywhere. Right in your home. Beside you. Just plug it into Zoom. You meet God there. Now, God became technology. Before you know it, technology had to be amplified to be relevant even to things that are faith-based. Yes or no? Yeah. So if I say anointing day, or anointing night, or anointing service, before now, you would have felt that that's the day you have to go to God, they have to lay hands on you. But somebody saying that you're sitting right there, God is by your side. And I'm anointing you virtually. Is it a lie? It's true now. So what I'm saying is this: always understand our default mode is just the first rung of the ladder that separates us from people who are not serious and people who are serious. It's a very good place to start because sometimes for some people it's an accelerator effect. Sorry, what's your name again? No, the last guy. You touching his shoulder. You look like someone, but you are not the person. Your face just mentioned like that. So do you get what I'm trying to say? So what's the first thing I said?
Default.
Default what? Most times if you go to meet a coach, most times if you go to read a book, most times if you go on a personal retreat, what you will come out celebrating is your what? Default. Is what?
Default.
Default. If you are all Christians, you will remember there's a story about Jesus and his disciples, especially those that went to the Mount of Transfiguration. They saw something. And they were like, wow, it's good that we are here. I mean, you know that actually was a default for them. And most times we like to build monuments around our default. And that's the reason why a lot of people don't grow continuously. That's why they end up with a name called a has-been. There was a season they were coming with, but after that season, they've gone down. You know why? They build structures on default. The default mode is a transitional phase. I've been here since Sunday, and imagine because I've had great time with outside, I've had great time meeting some people, I've had great time doing training for the clients I came here for. Then I now use that great time to define everything. I have to go to Lagos. Do you get my point? If I fool myself, this roundtable is not every day. Is it going to be every day? I had great time with these people that came to see me. Tomorrow, if I come here, maybe 2 of you will be here. And then after 26 hours, you thought of something, we need to do something about the thing you thought of. And then I'll be the only one here. If I thought this should be an everyday effect. Are we together? And for those listening to me, it's the same thing. We must be candid with ourselves because it's the first candid you experience. You discovered something. Most times you come as your name. Now, my name is no more Rotimi Eyitayo. I am now a peak performance coach. Wow, discovery. My name. So, kind of the first thing you like to say anytime you post anything or write anything online is that my name is Rotimi Eyitayo, peak performance coach. That was a particular year, and everybody was peak performance coach. And then when you saw the thing became pure water, that's how you feel for the next thing. Why? Because we are always with my rolling around default. And that's the important lesson of, if you've ever read this book, if you've not, it will be a good book to read. Who Moved My Cheese? That book speaks to people who build on default. Let me tell you this, if you're going to really live out the dreams that you have, that's if you have a dream. If you don't have, there's no problem. There's never a time too late to dream again. But if you're really going to live out your dream, that book speaks to that reality. You are not going to stay on this form for a long time. You will have to change your form from time to time. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I was speaking to a friend of mine. She was a school daughter to me while I was in secondary school. But now levels have changed. She's an industry giant. So we happened to travel on the same flight. I didn't really even know until we got down from the plane. And then we're talking, where are you going to? I'm going to so place. Where are you going to? I came for so place. But you know what? Can you ride in our car? And then she started talking to me and she said something very profound. This is someone rolling and riding in the realm of billions. And she said to me, she said, you know, if you want to be wealthy, and I think I shared with your team that time, you have to behave like the wealthy. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You have to behave. You say you have to act. Because act would lead to copy without integration of substance. So you have to behave like it means that first I have to have a being of wealth, right? And then I have to follow the principles of the wealthy. Because behavior sometimes is communication, sometimes you change the communication, it's behavior. Do you get it? Not acting, not form or fake it till you make it. Do you understand? So I thought about it and said, okay, which means my very first form might not take me to my dream. It's just a vehicle. So the first thing that you need to know is that what? You have a default mode. And for some of you today, you're going to leave that default mode. For some of you, it's next month. For some of you, you begin to now think about the time you need to give yourself. You know what I say, quick notice? Serve yourself quick notice that you cannot afford to be on this level for too long. Is that clear? Your growth might elude you, and sometimes people share principles with you. You see, they say you come and say they don't work. Let's check. What mode did you apply those principles? Some principles will not work for you at a toddler mode, at a default mode. Are you following me? If you are hungry and I give you cereal, take no. You still laugh. You still laugh. Cereal will make you laugh if you are an adult, isn't it? Or I tell you, please don't use a nursing mother here, please, just a cup of breast milk. I said, a cup of breast milk do magic. But not like you. Your body will reject it with serious alarm. And what you think you are doing? How many years ago? That was enough. But right now, you need something what? Solid. Some of you are it's solid. Is the truth. That's the principle of life. Right? So once you are able to understand that, the next mode you should get into is the mode where you call the develop or the development mode. And that is a mode, please, you can never be sentimental about. You have to disable yourself. At that mode, you are not a CEO. Your default mode, yes, title is sweet. At this mode, you can't tell what you will become. Because development in itself is an evolution. It's a process of change. So you are not totally all about identity alone at that point. You are more about the process. You are more about the change. You are more about the evolution. Do you understand? So for example, right now, you might say you are a baker. Or you might say that you are a cake maker. At your development phase, someone might tell you, you might tell yourself, or you might discover, I am not a baker. I will just fail eventually if I want to build an empire on baking. Not that you will quit baking, but you might now change. For example, that is a phase where you begin to understand what they call value chain analysis. Really, where are you wired for in that value chain? So she might be a better person to supply flour to South, rather than making what we call cake to just 2 streets. Because she understands the business basics of baking, she stumbled on the value chain of baking. Now, instead of turning herself to a cake maker, she's now a flour chain distribution person. Which one do you think will take her closer to her dream?
Distribution.
But you know, you have said, my name is so. I'm a magical baker. You will make magic. Do you understand? And I'm not saying that you can't make millions and billions baking. Are you getting one? But sometimes some of us will force change to happen. It will come out with so much of struggle. Are you getting me? So I'm just saying that. I'm not saying you should stop making, the way you're writing now. I'm just saying development, there's no sentiment. Why I'm saying that she might be a wired person. That's why, for example, the way she's wired, the way she's trained, the way she understands things, she might be one person that is fully about distribution. Are you getting me? And if you notice that she's wired like that, look, she might not be able to do the business science of trying to move customers to the point of the product. She can meet up with customers' needs in terms of delivery. So I will ask her, let's do a business analysis. How much money will you make just delivering cakes, especially if it's a cake you make? You will likely not make more, except to start delivering for people. If the market is not ready for that kind of business, then you probably deliver what they call backward integration. When you think about it, it's flour that you need for cake, but you need flour for more than cake. She can say that a lot of people want to try to make food at home. A lot of people want to go into baking. She can deliver it. She can start creating baking packs. Where she can say that for those who want to try out puff, won't try out cake, won't try out this thing. This is the ounce of flour you need. This is the part that you need. I'll send you a baking kit. She spends energy to do that. She might sell more, get more from that than just trying to do icing or something. So then she will now need to submit herself to the process to make her understand that everything does not start and end with just an idea. I want to see you. I do. No. Sometimes at that point you become apprenticed in your dream. And then you now realize when I started initially, I told you never mess with your word. Introduction. Some of you, the next thing you need is the next person in this room. Whether they look like it or not, whether they are on their way to it or not. That's why don't mess with your introduction. Because you might go away from here and I've just ignited what you need to do. How you need to do it is around. Are you following me? Yeah. Sometimes as coaches, we are placed on immense pressure. Our pressure is so much that you expect us to be the doctor, you expect us to be the diagnosis, you expect us to be the treatment and the capsule, you expect us to also be the workman. And in some cases, some of us are, well, empowered to do so, but when we now go on that kind of route, you don't expect it in a jiffy. Yes or no? Talk to me now. Can it happen in a jiffy? No, because it will take some time to move from conceptual to activation, from activation to execution, from execution to it will take time. It It will take time. And most of us are not patient. Are we? No. Life sometimes puts you on that. So the first mode that you must never stay too long at is your default. The second mode is what? Development mode. You need to be sincere with yourself. Where you suck the most, in that mode is where you need to build the most, not where society is going the most. For some of you think digital marketing is the bay, right? Everybody's going to digital marketing. Whereas your development mode doesn't require that. Your development mode just says, look, know how to be administrative. Don't worry. You either outsource it or you learn it later. Digital marketing will be there one way or the other. You just say, no, everybody is doing content, everybody is doing, you now leave the power of administration where you lack. You now go into digital marketing. You come back, you find out that you are more empowered and you are more frustrated. Yes, go and ask people who are resourceful, who are visionaries, too much ideas in their head. Sometimes that thing causes fatigue. Yes. Because you have so many things you can do. And when you are not expressing it, constipation. Mental constipation is the worst kind of constipation. Say you have toilet to go to physical constipation. Yes? Do everything will just be looking somehow. When you are thinking life is colored, you be seeing this as black and white. Because you have about 24 things inside you say, give me air, give me oxygen. And then some people they are just only with half and they are boiling. You be looking at them like this. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's the truth. Development mode, if you get it right, that is where your root begins to spread. If you mess up with your root, you are toying with your fruit. That's the truth. That's where I can look at you and say, with what you are going to do, I can see you 5 years, 6 years time. Not because you have 5 years old, because that's just a mental exercise. Existence is much more than conscription of what? A mental frame of what can be in the realm of desire. Existence has to be your structural practice. You've planted yourself, and you can now evolve with what? With time. Development phase. And then finally, your mode of freedom, where you have mastered the science of what you do. It's called the disruption mode. So you have the default mode, you have the development mode, and you have the disruption mode. There you understand that you have the power to tamper. Everybody say tamper. You know, most of the time when you do this, it was handed over to you. This is how it's done. Just on it. Yes. And then when you nurture it, you just try to do, maybe let's publicize on it. Or let's make known, let's campaign and make everybody know that on this side of the world, this is what we do. Or we are always afraid to tamper. Is it not true? This is how digital marketing is done. Hashtag this, that. But we are afraid to do what? Tamper. Must we follow the rule? You don't understand, the rule was a subset of default and development. But when you are at the place of disruption, rules don't exist. You become the rule. So it's like a goalkeeper. Imagine a goalkeeper is standing at the midfield and saying like this. He's guarding the wrong post. So if you like, he dives here. The real post is at the back, isn't it? Yes. As much as we love disruption, please do not enter a disruption mode if you've never gone through a development mode. There's nothing called double promotion. Did you hear me? And at that point in time, you must audit your association. Did you hear me? Your association is the first stage at the realm of disruption. You have to see how to get people who will not be dead weight to you. Are you following me? So if you have friends and you are going together on the journey, you must sign an MOU. It's called the Growth Memorandum of Understanding. We are close and we are together because we are going and we should grow together. Not because we are physically, but we are connected together. Lest you say, I don't have your time. It's not that I don't have your time. The I has changed. That's why it's difficult to recognize. Did you hear me? Sometimes when I mentor people, sometimes when I have people that I coach, I tell them, before sharing ideas, I tell them, are you ready? Because the idea sharing is not the problem. It's the readiness for most people. So you are too familiar with yourself that you are like this and you're in Edo State. You are too familiar with the wrongs and the buts and the no's of Edo State. You are too familiar with your giftings and the possibilities of your business. But by the time you're at the disruption level, things can change at the flick of fingers. And you are ready to change. Let me ask you this funny question I normally ask people. How many of you here, right? You all live in Edo State, right?
Yes, sir.
Any stranger here apart from me? How many of you can move to Kaduna? If you can't raise your hand, relocate.
Just for moving.
What is just for moving?
Just for business opportunity.
Why it's a question? Why you can relocate? Let's use the word relocate to Kaduna. Raise your hand. Because I have questions. Don't raise your hand because it sounds nice. Yeah, my guy, co-founder. He's doing like this. This one is doing like this. How many of you can? Okay, I'm coming to ask you. So I've seen your hand. You can't change your hand. Let's start with those that don't raise their hand. Why did you raise your hand?
Because he was asking if, as in, for the reason why we are relocating, you don't just relocate because you just feel like relocating. Like you were talking about the default mode, development mode, and the disruption mode. Let's say I'm in my default mode, I'm a makeup artist, and I saw that, I'm just talking in general sense now, I saw that people in Kaduna, they don't have a very good makeup artist there. And I said, okay, if I go there, I will strive well. And I've not gone through that development mode. I just jumped down to that
So
disruption.
you just talk about development mode today.
And that's what I'm saying. Like I need
So
to
I asked a question, can you? It's a can. Can speaks about capacity or ability. Can you?
Yes, I can.
So why didn't you raise up your hand?
I need to know why.
You're a woman of story, so you see why you can't succeed. I'm telling you, you know why you've not succeeded? And I'm not saying you know why you've not made money. You can make money and you're not successful. It's a matter of time. If you take power away from here, and let's say there was fun, does it stop immediately?
No.
A lot of people, no source of power is behind their growth. They are making money is a matter of time. Give them 9 months, give them 10 months, give them a year, give them 2 years, the tap will run dry. Did you hear me? Then you'll be able to separate wheat from tap. Some people, it's God's grace that is on them. They don't know. It's not sense that is on them. It's God's grace. I know God's grace too. You can't accuse God. If the thing does not last more than 1 month, if it lasts more than 1 month, you can't accuse God. It is the prerogative. Are you getting it? Yeah. Because of your parents' prayer. Maybe there's an agreement you have to do. Let me just allow you shine. And you are saying your body is so expert. And God is looking at just my son. All guys on his way. Before you turn from expert back to enthusiast. So the enthusiast you are giving sense that I just like it. I don't know it yet. Enthusiast is not expert, you know that. Yeah. Enthusiast, I love this thing. Then finally it makes sense. When it doesn't make sense, you change. You start talking to an analyst. Let's see how it goes. You know when you say political analysis, there are people who look at what happens before they talk. I mean, when they are enthusiasts, they just love that subject. When they are masters of the game mastery, it's different. And when they are experts, they are wired for that stuff. Thick or thin. When we do business, we don't do business because of the great time. We do business because we do business. We solve business. So problems are not strange experiences. We are not sad because there's problem in business, because we are wired to do the problems. Do you understand? Yeah. So what I'm saying is, it's not that sentence you. I'm just telling you so you know that you are the default mode. Your mode is already a fix to you. That's why I told you, by the time you begin to get to the point of development, you will answer some foundational questions that you now begin to ask yourself. Why did you think you're in Edo State? Was it not a decision of some people? Preferably, if your parents did not give birth to you here or relocate here, some of you might not be here. Yes or no?
That's true.
So why did you hold yourself so tight? The day you understand that you are ready for more, because more can come from any angle, that day, listen carefully, that day, you know what will happen to you? You will get to a point where you can actually swing at any level. Your sight will change. So doing business in Edo doesn't mean staying put in Edo. In fact, for you to do business in Edo, it might mean you need to do business elsewhere so that Edo's business can come. Are we following? Huh?
Yes, sir.
So that's for those of you who are there. I'm asking I've answered that question for many years. You see yourself, how can I live elsewhere? Even though I had that conversation, you people in Lagos can't stay in Lagos. You know when you say that, you are speaking out of satisfaction. I tell people that satisfaction is a symptom of death. Yes. Satisfaction is what? It's a symptom of death. Anything that don't bring is dying.
That's it.
I say you cannot live anywhere.
That's it.
As long as there's oxygen, there's safety, and there's the essence for what you do, you should be found anywhere. Coca-Cola does not say because there is cold in that country, there shouldn't be coke in that country. Are you following me? Coca-Cola is almost everywhere, except for places where they ban them. Do you understand that? Coke competes with water. Yes or no?
Yes.
As essential as water is, the competitor of water is what? Coke. Some of you would rather prefer Coke to drink water if you are not careful. Yes or no? Talk to me now. Not necessarily the brand of Coke, but I need soft drinks.
Yes.
If I show you a bottle of Coke and a bottle of water, which one would you naturally reach out to if you are not careful? Is the bottle of something just feels that is better. How will I just stop here and just take water? Imagine you went for a wedding and you just give water. You ask her, you don't have drink. And then the person said, no, that's a drink. Are you following what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
It's our mental, it's our psyche. Those people have done something to us that we feel is not complete. We even belittle the event.
Never said.
They say the people even say, not even cool. Some of you have put 100 now. Is water not also 100 So what I'm saying is, it's just the psyche. At the disruption phase, we can never do things alone. It's not that you should. Listen, you can never do things alone. Not that you should never do things alone. You can never. Did you hear me? If you are really disrupting, you become a magnet. In fact, the reason why you won't disrupt is the choice of trying to do it alone. And that thing you won't be able to do it. Disruption comes with growth, it comes with defying gravity. The first thing that you defy is your own force of gravity, because you naturally put things down to your own reality, to your own mentality, to your own speed, to your own precision. So at that point in time, some of you are already in a development phase without knowing, or probably consciously you know. The next thing you are reaching for, you are the eve of what? Disruption. You must get to that point where you first sit down and talk to yourself and say, God, you are about to enter the ocean. This is no more swimming pool. No swimming pool, there is ladder. I mean, there's step. If you enter, you enter. Not that you are going. That's the negative one. If you enter, enter. And that's the question when you hear people say, are you in or out? That's a place where you know people are sold out to the essence of what they do. Right? That's when you understand that these people are called out to the science and the peak of what they do. It's okay to celebrate your default mode. But you know, just like your birthday is not every day, it's once a year. So that 24 hours we permit you. After the next day, you are still shouting, you excuse me, it's another person's birthday.
That's it.
It's true now.
Mm.
Your birthday is not every day. So that's why on that day, everybody put your picture. You say, bros, you didn't put my picture. It's your birthday. It's true now. You allow that 24 hours. After that, life continues. Yes or no?
Yeah.
If you are smart, from 6 p.m., start changing your mindset. Don't wait till midnight. Change your mindset. The new day is coming. And you move on. Move into a development phase. See, all these people are saying too many trainings, too many centers. Hey, we've gone for many. It shows the place you are going to in life. You can never say you've gone for many. What do you mean you've gone for many? Even presidents, governments, the calendar is scripted in such a way that they have to have continual meetings, year in, year out. You're not saying you've gone for many, out of which you didn't pay for many. Most of them are free now. You've not talked about, many of you have paid for stuff. You paid in advance of what money you are even trying to collect. At a development phase, you have to give it what it costs. So for example, for someone like you might need to master your image, the look you should have, if people should take you seriously because you are not as big as they expected. Because at development stage, you are going to defy people's myth. You are too young, you are too black, you are too slim, you are too fat, you are a lady, no, you are a man, you are from Edo, you are not from Lagos. Development phase, you will need to fight those monsters. And those monsters are fought with proof. Yes. Sometimes you are fought with proof. You might need to get affiliation, get association. Sometimes you might need to get someone who would stand as an intermediary. How do you get that? So if she sells the way she is, I'm just being blunt, sorry.
Yes.
It's you.
Right.
If she sells the way she is, she might meet a particular person. The person might feel that I can't do this volume of business with you. So all of a sudden, your frame becomes what makes you a victim. Is that fair? But you are the one that was not being fair to yourself. Yes, God can make you this way, but you know you can make yourself better. And makeup is not only cosmetic. Makeup is sometimes cosmetic. I mean,
Yes, sir.
I think about it that I shouldn't even pitch my business. In fact, I am not the chief marketer of my business in this situation. At the development phase, you might need an outside, you might need this guy, you might. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Sir.
So when you come here or when you live here, if there's an opportunity for this to be repeated, find out, look at yourself, see beyond the dress they wore that day. Maybe there was no light, they couldn't iron it. So those are, let's not talk about it. Maybe they are on a diet plan. Say, this one is too big, you chop my money. But this one is very slim. Maybe it's fasting, you don't know. Some people fast before the new year. So because this one is looking hungry. It's not do collaboration. It's not me that we collaborate with. Do you understand? This is a thing that you guys, no sentiments, guys. You will develop yourself to the point where you will know that if it's human being doing something, you've done what you need to do. Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
Are you following me?
Yes.
I'll use an example and I'll probably allow you to ask questions. I have spent my own personal money where I should be asking for fee. I've traveled to a country where I spent my own personal money and I was invited to speak. I even helped them to plan the event. So guess what? I spent my own money. Flew to that country, spent my own money for my own accommodation for that period. And I had just gone to that country some weeks back. Did you hear me? I had just gone to that. Let me even paint it clear. So I traveled in September for a wedding. Came back. I spent just a few days. Came back. Less than 2 weeks. Are you listening to me?
Yeah.
To that same country. This time I'm not that someone is paying me. I came paying myself again to speak. Natural things, they should speak, they should pay me. They should even pay for my flight, they don't want to pay me. And then accommodation. I spent almost ₦1 million to go back to that place where I spent almost ₦500,000 to come before in 2 weeks. So think about that amount I spent. And guess what? The reasonable person that would have looked at my books and at my account to say, why are you acting like this? Is it because money is there? That's wasteful. But guess what? Just in 30 minutes at the registration desk, 30 minutes, I made 3 million. Did you hear me? Did you hear me? Not one, not two, three. 3 people. 3 million. So think about it. When I understood that, look, it's not what money comes to you, it's what resource comes through you. Then I knew that all I needed to do was to move away from the business of activity to the business of access. So anywhere I find myself, I am that resource. Are you getting it? There's a reason why you see sometimes CEOs go to places. Because you can't tell. Sometimes our services, those things are limitation. Brochure, hey, carry brochure. They are good, but you know your services is you. Because it's contextual. And most of you must learn how to start up a conversation. Don't say I'm shy. You're only shy when you are not in the place of opportunity. If you are shy in the place of opportunity, it's not shy that is worrying you. Well, if it's business, we won't say, but I don't know. You are shy. It's like imagine you meet God, and God says, "Good day, my children." Hi. You don't go hi. You know, if they just slap you, say, "This is God," and you say hi. You should script it. Say finally, I've been praying. God, I sent you 500 requests. You didn't answer today. Today is that day. Do you understand? That's the way you should look at it. And I told him, I said, I've not met you guys before, and that doesn't change my conversation with you. I said, look, you guys that we're meeting here, you can shape something and place this state on the map. And then other people will begin to come. Listen, if you take it seriously, we here can place a do on the map. How do economies start? It's just like this. Come up with an agenda and subject yourself to possibilities. And you will see how you guys will fly. You will see how you guys will fly.
Yeah, I think so we have questions that they have sent in. Yes.
Oh, they are sending me questions online too.
Yes, they send it. I have them here. But should we go straight to there or we ask questions from there?
Oh, you use the StreamYard. Yes. The audio is good there.
Yes, very
good. Okay. So it's on YouTube, right?
Yes. Okay, so if you have questions, yeah. Okay. After asking just. Good afternoon once again, everyone. Because at the moment I work hotel jobs. None.
Is that your friend that you're talking about?
Yeah.
The customer service friend.
So my friend precedes me. First question I want to ask: how do you know for sure what phase you are in?
I like this way it's tonight is powerful. How do you know? Anytime you want, don't bring it to your mouth.
Open your mouth. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
What are the pointers that you are in a particular phase, whether the default mode phase, the default phase, or the destruction phase? That's one. Then my second question, the most pressing one, I've worked in telecom for 10 years. Everything inside me tells me, you know, he's one of my, that's probably why he's talking to me, one of my friends. Everything inside me tells me this is not you. There are aspects of the job that is me. For instance, every time my manager meets we call them high value customer. She looks for me wherever, and that happens up till even like yesterday before. It's like you're the only one that can attend to this person. Customer service is my forte. Now I tell myself I have to leave this place. You were talking about leaving that default zone. I tell myself I have to leave this place. But the question is how? There are two possibilities. The radical John, I have a friend who told me, just pay your house rent 2 years and leave that place. There are many people who say, not try and you go on girl. So from your experience, what is the best place, how to transition? I guess that's what I'm saying. How do we transition? Is it the radical, you just disrupt the thing and burn the bridge? Or are there more systematic approaches to transitioning for the career in you?
No, don't ask how I left.
That's where the confusion is.
Yes, I left. That's the same thing now. But you see, it's a very good question he's asking. But I need to let you understand that our realities are different. Yeah. And our level of resistance is different. It's good to always have friends, but let me tell you this. If you find anybody's opinion, be prepared to buy their lifestyle. Everybody has a mouth to talk. That's why everybody talks, isn't it? So it says something that most times appeals to everybody. This is not me. Who said that is not you? And if you say, for example, your customer service, I don't think you're customer service. You are a highly skilled trainer. Not that you are customer service. You see, sometimes expertise is where our first blind spot starts. What we know is not all there is to know. So I'm looking at you, is there something behind you? Is there something behind you? Yeah. Talk to me now.
Yes.
Can I see it? No. Does it mean it's not there? It's there. It's there. I know about customer service. That's me looking at you. But all I know is not all there is to know. Exactly. Sometimes what will make you thrive is not the knowledge in your head, it's a relationship that you have. So you might be very good in training, you might have a very deficit, big time deficit in relationship. Meaning that you will not be able to sustain his training economy. Because all he needs is to deliver. But for you to deliver, there has to be business. Yes, sir. Are you following me? If you lack the business, you will not find the expression. Are you getting it? Yeah. So if I need to now say my exit strategy, if you must leave, is not to pay for house rent 2 years. That person has already also said this is where you will be for 2 years, which talks about can't you relocate. So if you pay 2 years now, and you have to do business in just, you now be begging people, I beg, I'll come back. Just give me transfer money. Is that what you do? Are you following me? Yes, everything is not linear graph. So I'll ask you, how many friends do you have? Then ask your friends, how do they, are they the ones that are your friends or you are the one that is their friend? I know why they are your friends. Is it because they are still tapping some energy from you, or it's because of pity? Some of your friends are pitying you. You didn't get that. Some of you are on helpline. Your friends are pitying you. If they are not your friend, who else will be your friend? So you say, I have friends. You don't have friends. You have nada. You have pity. Because you are not actually probably showing value. Doesn't mean you don't have expertise. Sometimes you have to learn it. So the business of business is not the activity, you see. Sometimes you have to master it. So if you are going to be someone who will train both customer service and those things around it, how many business owners do you know and how many business owners do you have around? Are you following me? Yes, sir. How much have you invested in people that they can easily now refer you when they have access to those kind of things? Are people as clear as what you are clear about on customer service? He is a bit clear. How many or size must you make of your friends and people you meet? So that it will naturally come faster and sustainable. Are you following me? Yes, sir. So let me give an example now. Someone like you have a job and your exit strategy is the next 6 months. Then you must understand your salary should not, instead of putting 2 years on the house rent, I'll look at my livelihood in the house and my family. I will invest in people like Osai. It's called growth by diversion. Osai might not understand. I will enable Osai's dream. I want Osai, I'll tell Osai, come, let's have a breakfast at hotel, or let's have a dinner at home, or let's have dinner, come sit down, I need to buy lunch for you. Osai will be excited that food is entering his stomach. He will not understand that life is entering your life. They sit upside down. Outside, you know, when people eat, you know they talk out sometimes.
It comes out freely.
You don't know. I'm giving instructions like that. They talk out sometimes. You take a woman out to dinner now, and she's, you know, except the person in the form, and you know the person is holding himself out. You know, you hold yourself. But outside that, you will talk out substance over business meetings at a higher level for partnership. You know what they normally do? They say, let's meet over lunch. Your real you, is what they are looking at. They say, it's true. You might not say secret, but they see your prototype of behavior. Let us have some. Is there any hours? See the way you cut meat. I see what you, whether you pick more meat or whether you pick more. You can tell body language, it speaks. I can tell if you are timid. I can tell if you are pretentious. Just by a meal. I'm not sure the first time I'll do this. We must do this again. You'll be excited. You don't understand. I'm examining you. Yes. It's a long business tradition. It's done. In foreign land, they do it. They know whether you are particular. If you say you want this type of wine, or you take this type of tea, or you take this type, they know your type of person. So sometimes it makes people connected to you or make people withdrawn from you. Are you alright? I'm fine. It's not no. And it's a business meeting that you are meant to eat and you're not. They will see that you have references or they might think you have philosophy clash. This person is not opening a business. I don't think I'm going extremely with this person. You'll be thinking you are doing humble care from a good home. Don't spend your money. You don't know that you lost a deal. Yes. Don't say because I said that anybody that think you are bringing it. I will redeem the devourer for your sake. But what I'm saying is this: you must understand that I can say outside. Do you know people who are around you that are, see this man? I was almost going to say, where is Rex? Boxer Rex, you should sit in front here. You know, how are you? Good to see you. You know, some of you might ever say, oh, outside. If I were you, I'd say outside. Why is it that you're just bringing us together like this? Can't you take it a step higher? Look at dollar people guys. I want us to bring more people like this together. You know what? Think of something, I'll fund it. I can fund it to this amount to help you make it happen. You know what I think? You will tell us how to bring a kind of pedigree of audience. If you speak to everybody here, they will like you, but they might not pay you. Bring me closer to my customer. I might not have the ability to mobilize. You have the ability or capacity to mobilize. Let me fund you to mobilize as well. When they come, Osai would have not done that because of budget. Right or wrong? But now it's been funded. Osai is fulfilling this dream, but you know what you are doing? You are the first that will arrive. That day, is there any shoemaker here? Nobody makes shoes here. Wow, polish your shoe. Anybody that makes clothes here, somebody says makes clothes. So you connect with that. Make me that person. Anybody that does makeup here, auntie. Guys don't really do makeup, but you probably will help him do dusting. You know, and anybody that, you know, and you can even tell her, do cupcakes. First 10 people that attend. Courtesy, what's your name again? Sylvester. Sylvester. So this is your customer service treat. You have a cupcake series that you give people arrive early. It's not her brand, but you pay that. They don't bring your brand on this one. If you don't bring your brand, take another start. And people will be like, oh, that's thoughtful of you. Hi, my name is Sylvester. This is for you. Coming early. Oh, really? Tell me what you do. I don't bake cakes. I appreciate people. And the signs of appreciation. And I do that through training intervention. Like signs of appreciation. Yeah. Okay. And then the next day you start conversation. People see, and then you have told to say outside, please, the pep talk, put me in the program. Just give me 10 minutes. In fact, give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes of thing. You have done rehearsal, prayer and fasting. Come out. Make sure there is light. Not the one that my face is looking blacker than I am. Or StreamYard. Make everything look nice. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, I just have the opportunity and the privilege to speak to you for 5 minutes. But actually, I'll make it 4 minutes just in case you have a minute question for me. See that purpose statement? It sounds like sweet. For them to make it sweet, it's years of experience. So you don't tell them, I know my name is so, and this is what I do. But this is what I want to do to you here today. I want to make you understand. Service is something that has become a culture. It shouldn't be an activity, it should be a lifestyle. You know, sometimes when I train people, we are talking it inside. When I train people, they're saying that you're a trainer.
Yes, sir.
Not a speaker, not an amplifier. You're a trainer. Sometimes when I train people, I get them to understand, especially when it's a group of people, not one-on-one. Especially when it's a group of people that think in their company. Sometimes 5, sometimes 10, sometimes 50. So it can be a small business, it can be a big business, it can be government, it can be an individual, it can be church, I get them to understand the most important thing. For service to happen, we need to use the word service. What's the letter service? The first letter is what?
Yes.
S stands for speed. Every time you do anything you do, you must have speed in it. Try as much as possible to be a business, to be a person that do things the shortest possible time for the customer. In fact, people pay more for any service that is urgent. That's what we call express. Yes, or no?
Yes, yes.
What's the second letter?
E.
E must be engaging. Always ensure that there's engagement. Don't be flat and out. It's not enough to be aware about what you do. But you must engage in the service. What's the next letter? R. You must also know that R is in this tone of responsiveness. If your business responds email late, that's not quality service. If your customers are feeling that you guys don't respond to their need on time, that's not. If your phone rings out about 5 times, what's that? That's a bad telephone response. So you need to get to that point to bring that. What's the next letter? B. Vision. You must see a bigger perspective of your world, of your customers. Value to customers. Without them, you won't be in business. Yes or no? What's the next letter? I. Innovation. Businesses today, take the pandemic for example, they innovated due to many things. Delivery service innovation. Everybody is innovating. People are even working from home. Yes or no?
Yeah.
You say no, you have to come to our center to build. You will lose a market share. Yes or no? What's the next letter? Care. Care with your words. Care with your actions. Everybody is looking at it. Most businesses are using their business model now in the place of care. People don't care what you know. They know how much you care. What's the last letter?
E.
E. Then E, you can talk about energy and excitement. You must ensure that your people love what they do. They don't enjoy work. You pass that frustration to your customers. Build a culture of enjoyment. Yes or no? Because enjoy is a combination of 2 words. On and joy. On means engage. Joy means joy, isn't it? Engage your work with joy. Engage your staff with joy. I just did. So what happens? When you finish, say thank you very much for a short time. I wish we had had more time to deliberate on this, but my name is Sylvester. There are cupcakes still available if you would like to have that. Available at the back to take your questions or to interact. I would really love to meet with you, but most importantly, I would really love to do business with you. Thank you very much. Now, the 100K or 50K plus the cupcake plus that 5 minutes is a gateway. But you know what you'll be looking at? God, if you can just get it. Somebody just give you training. You are the one that give yourself training. Tell your neighbor, give yourself a chance. So instead of you to spend 2 years house rent, you can do one event that will give you 2 years income. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So somebody said out of concern, the person was not lying, it was out of concern. Because you already think that when you start to average, you start trying, you start losing. No, it's not all of us that start average. It's not all of us that start trying. It's not all of us that start losing. You understand your power and your strategy right. You will never have those kind of issues. Businesses sometimes have challenges, but it's not as people envisage, or else you will leave people's reality.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
That doesn't mean you will resign next tomorrow. Work on the deficit that you have with the time that you have. It's easier for you to plan an exit strategy, not jumping out now. And that exit strategy might mean I need to get the kind of relationship I want. Probably sometimes it might not be relationship alone. I need to get some measure of visibility. Then you might turn down that job. Somebody there does digital something like that.
Yes.
Then you talk with that person and see how they do their stuff, or see how they can. You can outsource a portion of that. See, sometimes knowledge in its raw form is a beast. Do you understand? But knowledge in a refined form, do you understand, becomes a masterpiece. So think about it when you say, for example, You tell a man and a woman, don't go near each other. Don't go near each other. You know that is just an instruction. You hate the person restricting you. You don't go near the person restricting you. You don't confine the person restricting you. Yes or no? But if the person comes in a different way to say how to save yourself from heartbreak. You know the same thing is what I was afraid of saying, don't go near that guy. But now come in a what? In a refined manner. I'm bringing my knowledge that appeals to you in a useful way. Then you say, oh, I need a relationship coach. I will hear more from that person, even the person giving instruction, and from the person who is just full of concern. Are you following me? That's why sometimes some of us don't listen to our parents as much as we listen to our friends. Because our parents don't share concern at the expense of connecting with us. Well, our friends first connect with us, even though they might not share as much concern. They might not be there when the chips are down. But you see, we don't care. As at the time the chips are not yet down, it's the people that connect to that matter the most. Right or wrong? Yes. So that will help your question anyway.
So you didn't answer all.
He said very well. This is your question.
The point out of the reports and
Oh, only you can tell. You need to do an assessment. I normally tell people, only you can tell. But for some people, based on the path you have carved for yourself, you can tell. Based on your results, too, you can tell. But really, you have to be honest. That's something you have to. It's called self-disclosure. You see that. People might be applauding you and saying, "Great guy, great people." Internal conversation. Also, trusted me. Start with yourself. Because really, your growth is not a public discourse. It starts with you. Based on the kind of thing you want. Listen, if we want to build a skyscraper here, the foundation that they use for this building, they might need to change it. Because the structure it will carry will determine the foundation it will create. So sometimes we started on a good note, but you know what? Some of us are even in a disruptive state. But the capacity of the dream we desire, there's nothing wrong by going back to the drawing board and say, can we dream again? Some things need to change. You know, I as a person, yes, thankful to God for the things He's allowed me to achieve. I've done a lot of things. But for example, I move in year with things, not just goals. So this next year, I already have a thing, and part of the expression of me that I did not allow last year to happen and a bit of upper year, I'm bringing it back into force because of the need of the kind of market I have. So I help people identify their fears, I help people face their fears, I help people fight those fears and manage it to victory. Now listen carefully, for some 2 years I've been quiet about it. So I don't even use the title courage coach. I help people using the courage intervention, passing them through the gateway of fear. I don't use it as much. But 2021, because of the need of the people, and because of the need placed on me, my business model, I will be doing a lot more on courage consulting, courage coaching in 2021. Because a lot of people have the idea of what they want to do. They have the clarity of what they want. They've had the plan, but they need to fight their fear. So I'm ready to hold them by the hand and say, let's walk through the gateway of fear. Do you understand? Because some people, that's the only push they require.
Because can I contribute?
Yes, you can.
Because it's something tied to what you said, and I was there. Before I came to Edo State, I was working in the office, and I had stayed there like 4 years. And when I was going in, I already told myself that I'm staying here 4 years. And after 4 years, I'll leave. And so when I now stayed 4 years, when I leave places, I tell people that I'm leaving. It is as in, they either say, okay, you can go, thank you for staying, or they tell me to stay. So what happened was, they now told me to stay as it was to give them an extra year to find a replacement. You know, and the thing is, when you're in, because when I hear people say, let me leave so that I can start, let me just leave, and then anyhow, now, you know. But the thing is, while you are in that space, what did you do? Where I was before, I moved from IT support to marketer to facilitator to program coordinator to front desk to the only places I did not go to was HR and accounting, because my kind of person, I am a very erratic, disorganized kind of person. And so you can't give me money to hold for you. If I'm your accountant, I will wreck you because everything is an idea for me. You know, so I stayed there for 4 years, and then I stayed there for an extra 5 years. And one thing is something Coach said. It's you that will decide how you move. People will advise you. People will advise you, don't go. Unemployment is high. Look at the statistics. Blah blah blah. As in, they've got the statistics, and the statistics are reality. But at the end of the day, I always look for a particular. When I told myself I want to move, there's a particular voice in my head that speaks. And if that voice did not speak, so I just told myself, okay, since I did not get any confirmation, that means I should not move yet. And so I stayed back. It got to a point where after like 6 months, the voice came that, look, now you have to move. I was gainfully unemployed. People thought I was going into a job, but I was not going into any place. I was unemployed, gainfully unemployed. I was going home to sit down, But the thing is, while I was sitting down, I was still, as the skills I had learned, I was now using it to feed myself from time to just switch my I got the job here. I got it today. COVID started the next day. I got it today. COVID started the next day. And so what I'm driving at is, at the end of the day, people will advise you to stay where you are. They will use fear. Fear is a powerful tool. They will use fear to scare you into staying in one place. But then you have to realize that at the end of the day, you are responsible for your you're responsible for your consequences. You must take that ownership mentality that, look, and it's up to me. At the end of the day, consequences, positivity, it is me that will take it. Once you decide that any move you make, you know that it's not many people, it's not your family member, nobody, it is you that decided for yourself. That's the first step for every move. Ownership mentality. Because excuses, we are very fond of giving excuses to somebody that advised me to be, or that advised me to stay. Yeah. Ownership mentality is one thing that you have to embrace. Understand that you and you alone decide for yourself what you want for your future. And so whatever you go into, you know that nobody pushed you to it, you went into it alone. So I hope that helps. Yeah, I hope that helps. I was getting unemployed, and I did not blame anybody. I said it. I was when I made the decision. Yeah. So I will do the decision. I said if I have to go do bricklayer work, I'll do the bricklayer work because I made a decision and I'm alone in this life. Nobody will help me except myself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. I've been into training consultancy for over a decade now. And there is an aspect I envision coming for me very soon. But I have not really learned how to effectively do it. And that is 2 key aspects in training: breakout sessions and retreats. So I don't know if this platform will give me the opportunity to have some insight into how to effectively carry out breakout sessions and retreats.
Okay, I think your question is the easiest question so far. This is because our retreat is your strength. No, not because you see the The truth is, most times retreats are designed, right? And it's designed after 3 things. Number 1, the outcome that you want people to have. 2, designed after the model of what you want to transfer in terms of knowledge, right? And then it's designed after the experience also you want people to have. So retreat can come in different ways, but understand the reason.
Sorry, sir. You said outcome, model, experience. What's the difference between outcome and experience?
The outcome is, so for example, if I'm taking you through a business retreat, the result of you being in that retreat is the outcome. The experience is how I want to immerse you into that retreat. Sometimes it's not just about you coming to learn or coming to share or coming to prepare. Are you getting me? Sometimes I need to change something inside of you, right? If I'm going to have, for example, a leadership retreat, and I want them to go back into their businesses or whatever to be exceptional leaders, depending on how I design the dream, I can say, I want these leaders themselves to experience the next phase of leadership. And I also want them to experience the difficulty of followership. And so I might put you in such a way whereby none of us will sit on any chair during this retreat. That's an experience. And I'm just, at every point in time, you're on the floor. It's a simulation. I'm telling you something that you need to also be where these people are. My activity and interventions might affect that, even our feeding. I might say that, okay, we are not going to be fed in a buffet style. A group of people will be responsible for feeding breakfast, tea break, lunch, if it's a retreat that people are staying on, right? If it's not a residential retreat, we can define different. Are you following me? I can put you guys in such a way that all the things I'm going to teach you. This is what I can say. Okay, next thing I'm going to teach is I'm going to teach managing followership. Now you guys are going to read the book, 20 pages. You're going to summarize these 20 pages in 6 minutes. You're going to do a presentation of this. You're going to do a presentation. I will make you go to study, and then you will now come and present it to me. Then I'll teach you after you present it. I want to make you feel what your followers feel. That I will turn you to a follower, even though I know you're a leader. Then you come back to me, by the time you finish and you are not learning, the next time you want to tell people to do things and you give them timeline, you put a touch of humanity to it. That's an experience. And I want to take you to a place of excellence. And then I say, you know what, going forward, you guys, the way you will eat, the way we will present the table, I'm not going to put bread and butter already together. I'm going to put bread and I'm going to put clean different types of bread, wheat bread, every type of bread. I put your butter in a butter dish, cover it, make you feel like a king. Your juice will not be in chivita pack. You'll be in a clear crystal mug or jug. Do you understand? Apple, orange, pineapple juice. Look at that kind of table. Think about it, right? I put grapes, I put apples. I'm not going to put your yam in the way you cut your yam as your yam will be well designed into cubelets. Do you understand? You're not going to see the crust of bread. They would have cut off the crusts. You're not going to eat regular donuts. It's going to be glazed donuts. Are you following me? You will talk more about the food, even than the speaker. Do you understand? That you guys will just be like, if this were every day. Do you know why? It's an experience.
To create an outcome.
Yes, it does. It will naturally, even while you're there, shift is taking place. Yes. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Imagine that for every bottle of water they bring to your table, you have a bottle saucer, not just a saucer. You have a bottle saucer, napkin. So you have to drink your water naked with your hand. And then there's something to pack your lips. Some of you who even use those, you don't know why it's there. But it's just to take you to that point. Are you following me? That's the idea. So, and of course, you can find out some of these things online, but it starts by you knowing that you have the power to say there's something I want to do. Depending on the audience, depending on the content and the duration of time. Do you understand? I've done retreats for companies where there's a time we all had to sit at the pool because it was an extended long session. And so the brain thinking and everything, there's a time when you were back in the room because we're doing the night session, they have to put their legs in buckets of water. Do you understand? So that they are sustained experiences. Are you following me? So it's different things, but it's not too much. We can have a conversation after or when you connect with me as well. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to see so, the kind of industry where there's a lot of innovation, there's a lot of new products, like so. Always see ourselves giving back to the world. Always, so that places us in this responsible. That's mentioned. So the question now is, how do we transition, into building things without losing our originality core of what we are known for? So we just transition seamlessly.
Fantastic question. So that I'll answer it in two ways. First and foremost, you must understand that the kind of market you are is like the knowledge market, where you must be able to transition in forms, the format which you do. So you must first understand, if this is the business we do, we need to know at what forms we do that business. Right? Some of us call it format. The meaning of format is the form at which, what type of form, frame. That's one. Explore from a brainstorming or strategy session the forms this business can be at. You get it? Water is in three forms. It can be gaseous form, can be what? And it can be what? But it's still water, isn't it? First, establish the basic forms. Then, two, understand that at every point in time where you're either stranded or whether the market is saturated, you change forms. That's a strategy. Always change forms. You get my point? So that helps you redefine the market. But the most important thing that you need is to understand the concept of market itself. This is where a lot of us are not necessarily getting it. Economics definition of market is a special arrangement that brings together a buyer and seller. What is the market? I asked the question. What's the market?
Is a place where we buy.
It's not a place. It's an arrangement. Please don't miss it. You're a business coach, I mean. I know you can't start. The market is what?
Essential arrangement of integrated requirements.
The market is what? I'm giving you a secret now. The market is what?
It's arrangement.
It's the special arrangement. Who makes the arrangement?
We can, yeah, the seller
Can be the seller. You can use the enabler. It can be the amplifier. It's not always the seller. So certain markets have been created for you. You were not the one that created. They don't have to move until it's because you've been created. Sometimes you must be able to identify the people that enable your market. You must be able to identify people that amplify your market and plug into them. Are you following me? Market is not the place. Market is the arrangement. So we must begin to invest in creating arrangements, no matter how local level the product we design is. That's when you see that you've got the power. Nobody will see you coming. Are you following me? It is what? The arrangement. Are we getting this? And sometimes it's projected. Let me share with you a little story about Indomie. How many of you knew when Indomie came into Nigeria? Do you know? Does anybody have a clue? The first noodle brand that was prominent in Nigeria was Maggi 2-minute noodles. And that was in the year 1993. And that brand didn't do well. And then Dofil came in with your Indomie. Indomie replaced the market penetration of Maggi 2-minute noodles. Fortunately and unfortunately, because market and Maggi went backwards, right? Maggi had an existing booming market, the Maggi cubes. Nobody could beat that, right? And so these guys stayed the course. They knew that the goal is this. Most of the adults that gave us noodles didn't like noodles. Did you notice? They're not raised with noodles. Swallow and proper food was their staple, isn't it? So they just looked at it as a stopgap for children, isn't it?
Yes.
And guess what happened? These guys stayed the course. They created a special arrangement. You care for your kids, you give them noodles. You care for your kids, you give them noodles. Those kids of 92, 93, 94 are parents today. What's the number one thing they give them? From option, it became an industry. If I tell you there are several noodles brands in Nigeria, some of you will know. A lot of us in Indomie, there's Dangote noodles, there's Mimi noodles, there's whole noodles, there's golden penny, there's chicky, there's cherry noodle. You know cherry? Do you know that cherry does wonders for some places? They sell. There's a particular store where I live. They sell a trailer a month. And it's not number one. That means they still sell Indomie more. A trailer of noodles is how many cartons? Can't remember. But it's thousands of cartons. And the most people that sell cherry noodles are shy. So you can see, you guys, if you think about the numbers, you'll be shocked. They just created the arrangement. Are you following me? That special arrangement has been created and it goes on and on and on and on and on. It's about 7 to 8 to 9 brands, and they all have markets. Meaning that Indomie is popular than bread, highly demanded than bread. Indomie can compete with solid now. Think about it, because sometimes it's almost a complete meal. You don't need soup in some cases. You eat noodles on its own, you just get boiled egg. Sometimes you are done. Yes, or sometimes sardine. So there are many things. Are you following me? Well, yes, Indomie beats it. Some people even eat it crunchy like a snack. And when they understood that, because they were in the mainstay, guess what? They started to do what? Mimi chin chin. You don't know they're the ones that do it. Eh?
So they move from that default mode.
It's called forward integration. Since I use this type of one, why not just continue? And they have the same distribution chain. So they have taken staple food to snack. They put all the sausages into closed door. Because their chin-chin has a longer expiration date. It's not 14 days. Gala, you cannot use gala more than 14 days. In fact, gala is 8 days. Do you understand? And it is found its place into supermarkets. It's found its place into kiosks. These people have studied the market. That you create what to call market by creating a special arrangement. So you need to start asking yourself, in Benin and in Edo State and beyond Edo State, what arrangements are we creating? Is the arrangement that the market, not the place. The place becomes the medium for your methodology. That's why you can do business on Facebook, right? You can do business on Instagram, right? When we get to the place, we're talking about the medium. You can have therapy online. You can have therapy FaceTime. That's medium. But the special arrangement is why you said, instead of me just talking to you and having advice, I can take it deeper. I have what you call therapy. Ability to do that is to separate the value chain of what you offer into business units. Do you understand? And once it's in business unit, you can now say this thing is called for this kind of thing. Do you get it? I hope that answers the question. Yes. My friend in the baking industry.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome. I quite understand what you're saying. Maybe you just said a baker, you can do this, you can do this. We're actually talking to a deeply, but you don't understand. Actually, when we started, it was really good only for us. We made a lot from this business of baking. We got to a time for the past 4 years back now, when other friends, bakers invaded the states. So the market became tough for us. So it now happened that the Standard Organization of Nigeria said that bread is a stable food. It's not supposed to stay more than 5 days. So being a baker, we apply, and that's what we have been doing. And they also said there are things, there are raw materials, certain raw materials that are not good for consumption, that causes cancer, like carbonate, saccharin, and this excess preservative. So we try to put these things aside and we do it normal, the way we have been doing it. Between 4 or 5 days is okay. That's how we do. And the breads, from the vendors, they take it off. We got to this particular time that we produce. The vendors, they now tell us now that your bread is no longer good. The ones they are bringing from Warri stays for 2 weeks, stays for 3 weeks. No, madam, we can't take this. Hawkers will go outside. They go, no, they are no more thinking. They started going for this Delta bread. As we speak now, the business is like dead. Let me just put it that way. What am I trying to say? Okay, I tried to find out. I stopped for a very long time. I've not been going out. I had to go out myself. I went to one seminar. They said it's good to go for market survey, ask the customer what they need, what they want, this, that, this, that. Actually, I met them. All they tell me is that your bread doesn't stay more than 5, 6 days. I said, that is normal bread. They said, no, the eater, the customer, the consumers, they said they need longer stable. I said, but it's not good for health. They said, that's not our business. As far as this bread will stay for 2 weeks, 10 days, my money will not get. The only thing they need is the bread that will stay longer time. So gradually, our product started going out of the market. If you talk of Benin-city as a whole, Mr. Ben's bread, that's our bakery. We sell everywhere. People come from Bayelsa, Delta, Onitsha to come and buy. At times we have fleets of a vehicle loading bread. We produce 50 bars, 50 bars of flour. You know what that means? So we're producing man. It got to a time that 10 bars, we cannot finish it. We sell for this. 5 bars, 3, I got to a time we shut down. My husband now shut down. He said, what is happening? We prayed over it. We reopened again. All the properties he got before, we started selling them one after the other. We invest it. The more we invest, we see that the thing is, it just got to a time last year, I said, no, this year, let me dive into livestock. I dabble into livestock. As I'm still doing it, my bird started dying. The fish, the tarpaulin I bought, just like that. So I got to, I noticed that, what are we really doing? I will listen to teachings. I will listen to do your idea. I will say, do this, do this. I try to put him on. As I speak now, the vehicle I was using, the one my husband bought last, it was true what we have acquired a long time ago. I bought it 2 million. When the vehicle got granted, now as I speak now, the one my husband bought 3 months ago, he sold the land for 3.8. What we have achieved past is what we are now using to sustain ourselves. So I've come to see that I don't really know where to start from. But each time I used to talk with Osai and say, look, he said, madam, this just like that. But the morning, somebody just told me that it was my daughter rather. Mommy, don't you think selling flour will be better? You just mentioned it. I said, that's truth. I said, but that one needs a lot of money. If you don't have up to about 15 to 10 million, you can't open a shop. Like, it got to a time, the live floor me, told my husband, we'll rent a shop for you. We'll pay for 2 years because we're buying in large quantity. We'll pay for 2 years for you. We'll give you the products. You'll be selling. I told my husband, let's go into it. My husband said, you know this baker. What if they now owe me? Then this collateral, this land, this house, they will come and carry it. No, I won't be able to to do such one. It got to a time they waited for about 6 months or so. I'm running up. They just went with that offer. So as I speak now, we go to the market to buy. If you buy from them, at least there's a difference in price direct. Weekly, we used to buy up to about in a month, we buy 2 trailers. That's 1,200 bags. As we speak now, even in 1 month, we can't even produce 200 bags. The question is now, I don't know what to do next because I have tried all I could, but now as I speak now, financially, I'm down. So I don't know what to do. That's my question.
All right, thank you very much. It's quite a handful. Yes, and one thing that normally I always try to understand when people share their experiences is that there are times that you might have serial losses, you might have different challenges, but no two losses are the same, because there are different times that a lot of people fail to understand what we call root cause analysis. What made you experience loss from the business of selling bread might not necessarily make you have loss from the business of poultry. Are you getting it? But because you are the same management or owner, sometimes loss is not palatable. I don't know anybody that loves loss, no. But sometimes it's just emotional attachment to us. Even in one business that has several business units, right? So for example, someone who does training, who does coaching, who does counseling, and someone who does therapy. All these are different business units, right? Different kind of customers, different pricing. You might experience along all your business units, right? Some level of business challenge, right? Your nose diving and all that. But there is still hope when you, the visionary, is still intact, because your vision is a seed. Sometimes the soil is dead, so you need to do what you call transplant, right? Sometimes it's not that the soil is dead, you're a victim of the market, right? And activities don't change that. It's market that needs to change. That's why I had to spend time to thank you for that question, because it made me really explain. You need to know that you sometimes are the market, meaning that you have the capacity to create your special arrangement. So one of the things that you will need is not an open answer. You will need a business consulting intervention where there can be an audit done on first your business. Is your business well positioned? That used to be successful. You know, I told you earlier, you can be having success and that it's a defective success. That it just happened. You know, you are doing stuff. It's like if I put my business of selling pure water beside the express road, because probably it's near where people pass, I can be selling. But after a period, I might not have one single customer. And nothing wrong. It might just be that what created that boom of engagement, that fizzle thing has fizzled out. Now reality sets in, and I built an empire on that model. Do you understand? So there are many things. I can share with you some quick ideas, but I won't ask you to just jump into them. I will need you to really, with whatever you can do, get a business consultant to help you look into everything. It's always best to first dissect. You know, it's like you should come with you and say, I'm a doctor. What's wrong with you? Doctor, I'm having a headache. Immediately, I say, what you're having is malaria. I might be wrong. If I ask you, have you eaten today? You say no. It might be breakfast problem. No sugar. Do you understand? And it's a sensitive thing because she's lost a lot of funds. So, and of course, don't fall into the hands of people I just want to be. They use you as a test fraud. But let me tell you the things. So you create an actual market arena. If you find out that bosses are asking you to say, for example, create business bread of 10 days, 2 weeks, obviously your market needs to be positioned. Because those kind of people, their values are clear, and what they're asking for you can't give. Do you understand? So you have to reposition your market. There's nothing stopping you from doing a bread that's still that same day and that's 5 days, and you name it what it is for. Sometimes where the problem is the product naming. So on top of my head, it's not that it's totally what it can work, but it's not the total solution. But on top of my head, so it's doing a big deal. I would do bread. I will reintroduce the bread, but I'm not going to call it Benson's bread. Huh? Are you listening to me? You want to know how I'll call it? Benson's Benin's breakfast. It's for Benin. If you love so much and you've heard about it, come to Benin and get it. I'll make a deal with you. But it's a bread that stays with a shelf life of 5 days. So if you want breakfast, not that you want bread, because people use bread for several things. That's why they leave it long. And I will also reduce the size. Because if you don't want them to keep the bread and discover it's spoiled, then don't do large quantity. Don't follow all those loaf lines. Do mini size bread. It's a breakfast bread. So it's Benin's breakfast. If you are looking for bread, I want you to have the mindset of where you should eat it. So when you get it, eat it. And then I'll start a marketing campaign to that. Treat it as a big product. And people will respond positively and in shortest time. But mind you, I said that because I'm a strategist, right? In growth, I have to change the form. That's what I'm just saying. I'll look at the size of the product. I'll look at the prescription of when you should take the product. It should not be to the customer's discretion. Then I'll look for new distribution models. If possible, I will begin to deal with residents, areas, estates, and probably deliver to them. You might even try sampling, you will go online, you go offline, you will market the bread. You can even come up with automation of delivery. You can have bread reps. Do you understand? You can have bread affiliates. You sell a crate of bread, that's 4 bread in a crate. You will get half a crate over a period of 2 weeks free. So any amount to sell it is yours. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You can always bounce back. Even with the flour, you need to look at how you position it as well. Can they allow you to remain the bag? Can they allow you this? Are they giving you 21 days credit before? Can they give you more than 21 days credit? On cash. So you need to think about it. Can they give you 21 days credit? So that the cash you have, you can use it to float incentive, to float marketing. So there are many things. You understand? So I'm sure Osai is a very good handler in ask more questions, probably structure something that can happen as well. So that will help you at least get off that situation like that.
So I have a question, comment section on YouTube. Sir, how do you build business relationship for a new brand?
How do you build business relationships? Well, I think the first thing you need to understand is every brand must have expression. So to build relationship is you must actually go out there and show the business identity. This is who we are. So you will not try with your announcement. Remember I talked about introduction. So like they say in some songs, first of all, introduction. So introduce the business, that's the beginning of building a relationship. Then connect with the market you want to serve. So a lot of us, we do too much of public domain conversation. No, you must speak to the market. Yes, come out. If your market is, let me say for example, so line, I don't want to use any word. Connect to the market. There's no business talking to, so if I don't have business with bricklayer, why am I doing everybody? Generalists don't go far at the beginning. You must be specific. Specialist is where you start from. And then when you begin to do that, then you begin to think about it that, okay, if I'm now not a generalist and I'm being specific, what is the business model on my specificity? Am I doing business to business, meaning that I need to talk to businesses? Am I doing business to customer or consumer, meaning I need to talk to the consumer? Are you following me? That will determine how you build relationships. So if I'm going to talk to business, then I know that I need to go through certain ways. Even though business doesn't mean you're talking with conglomerates. Like some of the things you guys do, I'm sure you do 2 business models simultaneously. It's business to business, business customer. Abi? Right. So there's a way you have to connect. Some of you might need to do town hall meetings or group meetings. Do you understand? Some of you have to come up with schemes because that's the way schemes bring in individuals. Do you understand? And then you create a funnel that, oh, from this larger place, I convert them to a smaller place, to an intimate level. So business relationship, and you have to do it over a period of time. Never muzzle it. Some people, because they are in a hurry, they do 1, 2, 3 steps at the same time. No. Manage the sequence of communication, or else you become too aggressive, it becomes repulsive. Yeah. So sometimes some people say, you know what, the next 60 days, we want to reintroduce the brand. Then 60 days after, we want to now engage with the brand. Then 60 days after, we now want to communicate our essence. Immediately after, we are going to introduce a product. You will find out that while you might be feeling under pressure, let me sell this. The day you unveil a product, you think you did blood money. Why? Because you do not nurtured the market to a place of conversion. That anything you introduce, they embrace with wildfire. Are you following me? Sometimes you need to learn. Faith-based institutions do it a lot. Churches do it a lot. Some of you don't know. Sometimes you find out that maybe they bring a founder into a city. And like, the Jew of something is coming. Oh, the essence of something is coming. Most of the time, you don't know the calendar of the administration. If they are trying to do church growth. And so at this point in time, we need to bring the big fish. Or maybe it seems like market is not, it's not right. There's this, things have been good. Let's ginger the market. So they need to bring the big fry. That will bring you back into the minds of people because listen, you might want to write this down. Mind share is the beginning to market share. How much do I have? How much of the share do I have of your mind? Right? Mind share leads to market share. Market share leads to market size. So the size of the market I have is based on what?
Market share.
It's based on the market share. How did you get the market share?
Started from engaging to get the money.
Some of us don't want to do the homework, but it will affect eventually. Are you getting me? Do you understand? This thing is everywhere. You can find it. Mind share. Once I have a share in your mind, I have a rent. I've already rented the space in your mind. Consistently, before you know it, on mind share, I'm having a market share. From a market share, guess what happens? No, sorry. Market share, yeah, from market share to market size. From market size to market dominance. Market leadership, sorry. A market leadership leads to market dominance. So I will dominate this market, I must lead in this market. For me to lead in this market is a function of the size of the market. The function of the size of the market is the function of the share of the market. The function of share is also a function of the share of the mind. Do we understand? Once you're able to do that, and it's a design process. So as you know it, you now need to connect the dot backwards. What must we do in the next 2 weeks, in the next 30 days, in the new year, that evolves around it? Are you following me? That's why sometimes you find that some people have what we call periodic programs. They are intervals, this purposeful. They do it intervals. There's a reason. They want to have a mind share. They have periodic programs. So you might hear some things are weekly. Sometimes some things are monthly. There's a reason. It's mind share. If I get your mind share very well, I begin to get what you call a market side, right? And then it goes like that and like that. So that really should have answered that person's question.
Yeah, absolutely. We have questions in the house, so I can start on the questions we have.
I hope it's making sense so far.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Or you're tired? So who else has a question? Yes, you have a question.
Thank you, sir, for impacting knowledge.
Ask your question.
Okay. You spoke about value chain and visions. I actually located to Benin from
Ibadan. So I didn't, yes, I didn't want to, though I'm from Edo State, I didn't want to stay in Benin at all because of family involvement, do this, do that. I just want to be alone. But I had to come back due to some circumstances. When I was at Ibadan, I learned makeup. So in my mind, it would be easier for me to have a breakthrough there. Because when I was there, the church I was worshiping, someone would just refer me, come and work, come and work. So when I had to come back to Benin, it was kind of difficult having to, since I'm not the type that know how to talk to people. Yes. Sir?
Have you written that down?
I'm kind of an ambivert.
Have you written it down? You are. When you say you are a type, you know you've already profiled yourself. You know once you profile yourself, you've already told yourself the things you won't do. So you know part of the problem. Your breakthrough is in your hand. You are the type that don't talk. I want to make up. You don't talk. You need angel. Before your breakthrough comes, you need angel. Because your first thing you need to do is to do what? Once you can talk, breakthrough starts.
Yes.
Do you understand? So say I will talk.
I will talk.
I am that type.
That
Say it out loud. I am that type.
I am that type
That will learn
that will learn
how to talk.
how to talk.
I will talk.
I will talk. So when I came back to Benin, I told myself that I want to grow my business into a brand. So someone just suggested to me that you can actually, she just said it as a joke, but she didn't know I'm going to take it serious. You can actually add food condiments into your makeup so that when you eventually come big tomorrow, you can be an event planner, you do the makeup, then the food that you are going to use in cooking, the food stores, you supply them. But I told the person that I'm not a caterer, I don't know how to cook. He told me that that is not a problem, so you can supply it out. So I actually had to go into the food condiments, though it wasn't easy because I had to start selling in cartons. I had to start selling in cartons. But last month and this month, prices dropped. So what I bought expensive, I couldn't sell them in cartons. So I had to start selling them one after the other. So someone told me that just sell it at a giveaway price so that you just get your capital. I told myself, no, there's no way I can lose. Let me just sell it one after the other. So the question I want to ask is, am I on the right path?
Are you on the right path?
Yes.
I am very careful because this is an open conversation. I don't want it to be misconstrued. I know what you need, and I'll stand on what you need. You will decide if you are the right. I feel that what you need to do is to come up with a development list for yourself, which speaks starting with communication. You must be an effective communicator. If at all you will sell and find everything is listed, your frame will cause you discomfort in growth. If not, the best thing to do is not work for somebody in a place where you are skilled. Let the person do the talking and then you just do the end. But I know that you desire more than that. For you to have lived in Ibadan, come back here again, something inside of you is looking for independence and expression. However, you see, don't try to put the cart before the horse. Right? It's good to be empowered with skills, but you also must be equipped with direction. Right? There are many things. So, for example, if you are back in Benin, are you active in the church where you are?
I just actually.
So you need to profile the kind of church you will be at and how active you will be at that church. And if possible, you now ask, what business model will make me thrive in makeup in Benin based on Benin culture? So, for example, if I were you and I looked at it, I would ask, I would like to be a part of your church. Who is the youth leader? Who is the blah, blah, blah? Pastor, this is who I am, this is what I do. I'm not trying to make money of God or love God's people. I want to add value to God's people. I can tell them, can I make people beautiful in God's presence? You say, what do you mean? any newcomer that comes, it is a church that allows makeup, for example, right? Can we get to give them free makeup as they come into church? And those who would like to come into church and they want to look their best and look good, can I set up long before service comes? So it also promotes, a lot of people are late to church because of makeup, and even in their makeup, they are not fine. So you can actually have a support service either before church or within church. The church can pay you, and the makeup can be a customer service for the church. And they pay you and say, make our people look beautiful in God's presence. So it just comes with this initiative. And the lady called, what's your name? Give me a short name like that. Or SARS beauty or beautiful or beautified in God's presence initiative. You have to set up, you can set it up for churches and they'll pay you. That's consulting. Where the church will have a particular room that before you enter the sanctuary or whatever they call it, right? They would have passed through your work. So as you come into God's presence, you are beautified, you know. So enter a day with something. Do you understand? And you do a proposal, maybe a business coach or someone else will put it together to you and then they communicate to you. You don't even need to say you are the CEO. At least from the beginning. You are the founder. That's what you need to know. A founder is not necessarily a CEO. Because you might not know how to manage the business. But there's nothing wrong in finding the business. I mean, yes, so I'm the founder. I need a CEO who can I employ to push this makeup business. Let's go push it. What do you mean? Churches like Redeem. If you have a chain of churches under a province and you set it up, kiosk, and you manage it, beautified in God's presence. Now, scripture, and you look at all those women in the Bible, don't make them look like too much makeup, but beautify them. Sarah, oh, this is Sarah, oh my God, I'm a mama. So many mama must make up. And look at the young one, Ruth. Ruth is a chick, you know, Ruth was young. And they say, Ruth is a bae. Bae like Ruth. It's not be like Ruth. He says, bae like Ruth. A lot of people love it. You get to say that you know that this can drive attendance. Defend it. See, there are certain questions if you ask on the pew to the pulpit, you will hear no. But there are certain things you ask in the pastorium, you will hear wonderful. Yes, because most of the time, this is something was learned. And most people share suggestions. They don't sell suggestions. They share ideas, they don't sell ideas. Pastor, what if we do this? Pastor, I have something that will triple our numbers in 3 weeks. Come to my office. Sir, if we do this and this, I guarantee you, this is what we're doing. Because even after church, people will not mind to go to places. And a lot of people have plans to go to places after church. Since they can get one stone to kill two birds, they get makeup in church, they get the word, they make up in their mind, and they go back to their places or wherever, and then they get made up in those places. That's what I say, I've never seen it in this fashion. But sir, we have to do it in a way that they will love you. Who will do it for us? Who gave you the idea? Sir, I'm the one. I'll manage process just for a particular fee. You don't know that church pays people money. Do you know? There's money in church. There's money. If our church is an industry, if you give it to the right side, I tell church that you pay your tithe. As they are paying, you pay them back. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So you are not necessarily in the wrong direction. You just need to improve on the things you do, but first improve on yourself. If a salesman cannot sell himself, forget about selling his product. You are the first believer. You are the first customer. It is difficult for you to sell yourself. Your product will suffer in your hand. They say people are just supporting you. I know how long will support take place. Support will stop at some point. Some people say you should, by now, you should know that we are just helping you out. And if you are really good at what you do, even your friend, and you are small and anything, you know it's an advantage. They just say that's small girl. You know, it's that if you are big already, people know that you are big. That's small girl. You say I'm a small girl. You say I'm 35. Oh, shut up. That's why you are a small girl. I don't know anything. And a lot of times it helps me. You know, I have sometimes a market where we sometimes come together and there's similarity in product as a trainer and consultant. A lot of people brag, a lot of people shout. But I've noticed the power of contrast. I can beat my story and say, everybody, I made this, I've done this. Sometimes I come like a steel engine. You don't see me coming. I don't look like I know anything, but the taste is different.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I tell people the taste of the pudding is they eat it. And many of us that shout, I decide, do I want to make noise or I want to make news? I choose I want to make news. So when I do something and then they see the entire effect, people look at it and say, you are not popular. I like it like that. But sometimes in the bid of servicing popularity, I lose the essence of my content. I forget why and what made me why. I know a lot of people when we started together. I know how they were so original to their content and true to their being. But because of servicing fame is hard work. To keep yourself up there is hard work. Some people even as they make money, they funnel it back just for fame. I'm not tripped by the likes. I'm not tripped by the followership. I'm tripped by the impact and the results and sustainability. I'm building for the long haul, not for the short term. So those things make me do something. Sometimes I feel like, well, I just say, now I'm in Benin. It's only your program that made me tell people my location. Sometimes you have to show and tell, but depending on your kind of model and your kind of business, it's not all the time you make fuss and noise. Some people, they are good at it and I love them and I don't love them less. And sometimes we need to learn how to show our visibility. But don't do visibility at the expense of your real love. Or else it will be high frustration. So it's just, can you imagine? Even if you don't under-deliver, it is overhyped and you deliver. People still feel that they should have been more. Yeah. Heightened the expectation with same experience creates heightened frustration. Do you understand? Yeah. Does that help? You still need support. You make friends like this, talk to them, pay for their service. If you don't have plenty money, ask for discount. But don't say it's free. I want us to disabuse our mind for free. Are you getting me? Because if the person does not continue and it's not sustained, how would you be the person? Pay, please. You're running away for another therapy session. Oh, thank you very much. We connect, right? Yes, sir. All right, thank you. Any other questions? Hey, finally. The man controlling things. What's that question? Let's pay attention. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Aside from I'm not I want transition just okay. So, like, what are the steps you suggest to that transition?
Well, there will be direct and indirect approach to this. So, screenwriting to filmmaking, I think the first thing is you need to make sure you preserve your book. So, all the friends you're written things for, find a way of archiving and probably asking for testimonials and feedback. Right? Because you might need to ask yourself, do I have the money to really study and do this? Or do I have the money to market myself to do this? If you don't, you have to use relationship as a shortcut. And that means people that you meet, I probably wanted to mentor you into it or give you opportunity to show them what you can do. You need to show them what you have done before. Just like if you want to get a job, they ask, where's your CV, isn't it? So capture it, archive it, or preserve it in such a way that there's some level of believability. Nobody wants to spend time risking their work if you are not paying for it. It's someone who is just trying to find himself. It's very risky. You understand? You get what I'm saying? So you begin to gravitate towards people in that field, research them, find them out. Sometimes do something ahead of them. If somebody is into movie production or something like that, I saw the last movie, you can do a review about his movie. Very clear, using your content skill. Do a review and say, oh, so person, fantastic movie. I've followed you for the space of 2 months, and I've seen your different screenplays or screen or movie stuff. And this is what I think. In my honest opinion, I'll rate this 3, and these are the reasons, but these are the things you've done. And this is what I rate, and then tell them that, but you know what, I really want to appreciate you. I will really give anything to be in your set or be on your set, or to watch you do this thing that you do. Let them see the value that you bring to the table, but appreciate the work they are doing. Speak from their language of professionalism. So that way, someone can call you and say, fantastic, guys, I've been looking for someone that could intern on this project with me. And you can also write and say, volunteer intern available. If you know anyone, reach me through this number and this email. I'm a person who's passionate about this. I'm a screenwriter. I've done the job, but really I've been looking for an internship or volunteer opportunity to any movie production that's taking place within the next 60 days. Right? If you need someone to help with content writing, if you need someone that you need to work on this project, this is why this is why. This is a link to my bio. And if you send me a mail, I'll also send you some of the things I've done before. People are looking for people who meet them halfway. Do you understand? So those are things that you need to do. But aside that, the formal way to do it is easily go to public domain. There will be things you will learn that will transition you. Make a trial. Or better still, pay for formal tutelage. Right? But if you're not within that bracket of being able to take out the cash, you can also apply for a grant or need people to invest in you. That for me to get close to this person, I need to see the person. For me to see the person, I need to go to where the person is. For me to go to where the person, I need to travel. Can you invest in me? Create yourself, turn yourself into an investment portfolio. Now, if you invest 250K in me, this is what I'll do with the 250K. But this 250K will land me my dream, will land me a job in the space of 3 months. And I'll pay your 250K with interest. If they believe in that plan, they can invest in you. Are you following? And it will yield returns, as you said, or you find a way of bring back maybe to family or your property where you said. But yes, you must see, if you're not ready to stake it out on yourself, and you also want to use their own money, you're a joker. You have to. Some cases, if this is what you mean that you want to do, sometimes you just have to stake it. Make someone see that at least I'm meeting you halfway. Don't say, but I don't have money. See, your journey will be longer. You have something. You have something. I don't know if that helps. You want to ask a question? Okay. Any question?
Okay, sure. Should we take the online questions now?
No, my question. When she was asking the question, there was a conversation about saving capital, and because of the reduction in price, she has to sell one. She has to sell them. And that was what she asked if she was. So I don't know if that's if she was asking if selling them one is incorrect or reducing the price and selling them.
Okay, for the other aspect. Well, you see, when it comes to business reality, I shouldn't answer my assumption. Right? There are many things I will ask her. I don't know how she sells. I don't know her capacity of selling. I don't know who she's selling to. I don't know the price at which she's selling. I don't know the brand with which she's selling. Is it a product branded as a product? Is it repackaged? Is it someone else's product? There are many things that sometimes we take for granted. We just think it's price and markup. It's just like makeup. You might be good, but I might be considering whose product are you using? True. You get my point? I might ask, are you even affiliated to any other brand? So she might need to say, you know what? And there are times I can say, you know what? Why not talk to someone that says, I'm in Benin-city. I am pledging my loyalty and I can show you I'm trustworthy. If you're planning to spread your product into the city, I still want to do makeup, but you know what? I can be your business rep in Benin. There are people who are looking at opening a store, but they don't have a hand on it. You can offer yourself and say, you know what, don't pay me, but just open a shop here, branded as your brand. You will do your business from that brand. You know there are people like that. Do you know?
Yes.
So if that person looks at it, they can meet with you, get a lawyer, get the terms. If you're okay with terms, if they're okay with terms, business starts. So you have a roof over your head, solid business. I'm serious. Some people, their growth curve. You are starting, but you are the answer to their growth. Growth brings headache too. Ask this guy who they'll tell you, as they're expanding or trying to test on something, I'm sure that good growth plan will also tell you there's a problem. If you think so, now we have a good problem, might be a people problem. So you sometimes make sure we are all enablers or amplifiers to people. Find who you are the enabler to. I'm sure Osai would connect you. Imagine if KG Beauty Product was to set up here. You can be the go-between to verify how you can connect the two. And then they just have a business outlook which is well branded, which you know. And then she just has a place where she works and functions. And you can also use their product, which is also sales for them. If you convince people in numbers and they are sure that you are trustworthy, you won't anyway. You are in business. Most of you have trust, you have integrity, but you've not packaged it in business expression. I think it's not worth. You think it's not worth something. You can even talk to the artisanal man that disappeared. I don't know where he is. He's looking for Sylvester. Yes, Sylvester. He's looking for database. Tell him that the people that do makeup with me, they are business people. I can share database with you. I can give you one customer profile and buy database from you. If you help me set up my makeup business. Collaboration. Look for, like Steve Harris would say, look for the agony for your bread or the bread for your agony. I mean, sometimes people will not want to eat bread until they see agony. Maybe that will inspire them. And sometimes someone will not just buy agony beans. They said they see bread. That's why sometimes those hawkers. It's an ancient secret. They go together because it's business intelligence. Impulse buy. And that place is very, very. If I just see one hot bread, bros, there's bread here now. Don't waste time. And sometimes, just in case you are saying you are not sure, some of them have yam. Yeah, there. So please understand that this is sometimes, the best kept secrets are hidden in plain sight. Most of the things are there, you are seeing it, but you don't know that that's what it is. So that really helps to explain. Because if I know and I'm armed with those, I don't want to give you ideas, I want to give you solutions. I will tell you spot on. This, test it. Do it right, you get result. I don't do probabilities. Are you following me? So I need to ask. You might not just like it because I'll ask a lot of questions, but it helps us. So that we'll short it, because you can learn and do what I tell you now. To compound your problem, though it's a nice solution, because it's not dealing with the root cause. Do you get my point? Very important. So you can send in bulk, you can tell your old people at home, get out. I've been talking to wrong people. No. Man, that side is done. I don't want again. You can choose, sack your customers. You don't know. He said, fire your customers. That was to tell you bread of 2 weeks. If I see your leg here. Oh yeah, all of you. You say, well, you will not say yes. I don't want to sell to people like you. You have been selling to the wrong market. Trade the right market, it will shock you. The same place you'll be crying and selling property. People will be begging you property. I've seen it happen. And that's where you need to understand disruption. Disruption is no respecter of structure, age, or time. Whether you had lost for 10 times and 10 years, you can disrupt and make silly money. And so you must not say this guy is done. You must be ready to change. You must be ready to change form. You must be ready to change format. Do you understand? It's sometimes difficult, especially when you're a popular brand. You see all the crowd that's coming, there's nothing wrong. Now tell them, you can even say, use your story and rebrand. It's a very comeback is sweet. I love comeback stories. You understand? Sustain that's why sometimes some brands kill themselves, and then rebrand. Sometimes they send conflicting products. You know that. Don't worry, you'll be able to send more than that. Is there any other questions?
Do we have a question in the room?
How is your line feedback?
Yeah.
Do we have our people? Anyone I know?
Yes.
So let me do shout out to them so they know it's not recorded. This is not recorded, guys. This is live. Question?
We have some questions here. I think this someone that somebody asked here, how do you handle familiar clients that disregard business procedures?
Okay, so how do you handle familiar clients? I think most of the time we sometimes create that problem for ourselves. Because there's nothing I think is even wrong for you to say familiar clients. Should your client be strange? If you have a good relationship management with your clients, you should have familiar clients. You should be familiar with them. But I understand why they use the word familiar. Contextual is that familiarity has come into it. Now you can be friendly in business, but you don't necessarily have to be familiar. So I think there's this juxtaposing that needs to happen. So how do you handle such people? Number one, for some people, you might need to reintroduce your business policies and principles. Some people, you might need to reassign who sells to them. And you know it's on purpose. You have to put your feet down. Let them come and say, I don't know, imagine somebody's calling me. Sometimes, if it's stakeholder clients, you need to tell them the whole truth. Don't use process, don't use grammar. Sit down. Say we are rebranding, and some things are just like you to know. I'm not against you guys, but these are people now going forward for our business unit on this. Announce them, let them know that it's shocking. I tell them the reason we're having issues with it. And if you have any issues, please call me. But sometimes tell them to their face. I don't think this will help us. The process of ourselves for accountability, we have auditors. Appeal to their reasoning, but tell them the truth. And if they are very, very, very close, fight. What did I say? Fight. Say fight. If you don't fight it, they are saying because of, you will run down. They will still leave. Yes. But they would have left after you to have nothing left. So which one do you want to do? Fight. Because some people tell you, you can't tell me that you fight. I'm not selling to you today. Why? Am I not the one that started your first business for you? I'm the first customer. Because you want to kill my business. I can't say I'm your friend and I kill my business. That's what it feels like. I've had a board meeting. Which board? When this is talking about? I beg, is it not you or side? Is it not? Yes, I've changed. I went for a business meeting and I've changed. Levels have changed. Man. I tell them that if they fight and you apologize, is apology far from your mouth? No. That's what I said that afternoon. I mean it, but not like that. Call them, buy them big pie or buy lunch and say, guys, please, let's do it together. If you were in your business, you won't like it. And still, let me tell you this. If a friend acts like a fool, what do? You, the friend, treat them as a fool. Because they are acting, you also act. Right? Corresponding action. When they now see the reality of your response, and you come back as friends to do what you call case study analysis. Foe versus foe. When friends versus friends are foe. They see how you did, they see how you reacted. That's why I just propose. Because you're like a foe. I treated you as a fool. Now we are friends. Let's agree. This kind of thing should not happen to both of us. Do you agree? Yes. If you don't agree, I will carry your kaya, say go be, and you go. We can be friends. We don't have to do business together. There are some people I don't sell to. Sometimes they won't buy and they'll make you feel less of who you are. So you didn't invite me for your program. I did. I invited everybody. Is it not on social media? Didn't you like it? Like, you didn't invite me personally. When you go to sell, when you to buy. I thought I'll say 50,000 retreat. Bros. Are you looking for Christmas gift? Is it wrong to look for Christmas gift? Is what I'm having and deliver as value, not value? After all, if you don't want to pay and you still want it, some of them can still get it without pay. They can call me and have problem and say this is for and I won't charge them. That's the benefit they have. But don't spoil my pursuits just because it doesn't sit with your pocket. Do you understand? This is my business. If I don't do business, you won't be my friend. Because you'll be afraid I'm coming here to beg. Now I'm doing business. You're fighting my pricing. Did you ask for discount and I didn't give you? You didn't ask. Did you say I'm coming that way and I'm saying I'm sponsoring the meal, I'm sponsoring the drinks, and I'm not paying any registration fee? You know it's possible to do that. That's the privilege of a friend. You're not using the privilege of a friend, you're not acting as a friend. My dear, you are not a friend. And that's why I tell you, at the point of disruption, you must never be sentimental. We can come back to the round table behind the scene and say, yeah, let's look at our friendship again. Are we still friends? On what terms? So friendly foes, friendly business, you need to step down, change the people who are handling them, or warn the people and give them a cost. If you're in your office, tell them, my head, you don't tell me no anybody, let them come and meet me, and then we'll talk. But don't say Oga's friend. Say Oga's friend, you hear Oga's friend salary too. Simple. Do you understand? In other climes, friendships are not brought into business processes. The moment you get into business, and that's why you also must never deliver less to a friend. Don't say because it's a friend. I have some people that I coach. From the coaching relationship, we became friends and family. You know, sometimes we do some things, and maybe because it's not directly done by me, maybe done by a colleague or subordinate. Sometimes people just feel shabby. So there are things that we said we would do part time that we sometimes don't do. But because the person's respect for me overall is there, the person naturally, if it's another client, the person will call them and say, guy, we are paying for XYZ, you are not doing it. So sometimes she just says, I noticed that they've not been doing this. I said, really? I'm very sorry. So this morning we're talking, and she said to me that, don't worry, when you come to Abuja, we'll talk. I said, when you talk like that, there's something. Talk now. Don't let us add the weeks before I come to Abuja to now make it. So if you wanted to say for the past 2 weeks, let me make it for the past 1 week. Talk now. You know, because sometimes it happens. Service failure takes place. Especially to the people who don't see anything. You don't impact them. They've been there for you in business. Why do you now take them for granted? And when I look at it, it's been very bad. Sometimes what we do to recover that relationship is to do something much more. And sometimes we tell them, you know what, the next few months that you should have paid, maybe talk for what we did. Don't say, she is my friend. Don't. Value begets value. You understand? And sometimes, that's what you reap when you do things with friends. They are your test lab. Because if you now manage a relationship with a friend well, you can manage a relationship the other side down. Do you understand? That's it. Any other question?
Second question, yes, that's it. How do I market consulting services? How do I market my consulting services?
How do I market my consulting service? I don't know what type of consulting service, but consulting services, a lot of people need to know that consulting is actually an industry. That's where you start from. So when you understand that this is an industry, you need to ask what type of consulting am I doing within this industry. The sub-industry will tell you the kind of consulting businesses that you do. So sometimes the best way to market your consulting, once you're able to know that, is to see whether you are actually marketing sub-services to people who are in mainstream, or to market direct services to people who are in downstream, streams close. Do you get what I'm saying? So you can actually be a retail consultant on a level. You can actually be a sub-consultant on another level. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And consulting most times also has different business layers. You know, so imagine let me say, she needs to do something in her business, and she now needs a marketing consultant. She will definitely need a marketing consultant or a marketing consulting intervention, where there will now be market research, market intelligence, and some other things. So, as a consultant, what do? You market your service through that value chain where not everybody can get the business from her, right? But the people who notice that this woman and people around her have need of certain services, that's a means to an end. So you can market yourself from that particular point of view. So look for things that are within the value chain of your market need. So if somebody who is, for example, a coach, that person might need sales marketing company to sell out his conference. The fact that he's a coach and he has pioneered the conference doesn't mean he can market his conference to profitability. Are you following me? Do you understand? There might be someone else that will say, you know what, we are the answer. How many people do you want to fill in that room? You want 1,000, go to sleep. We will do it for you. You just come up with the content, show up, deliver. But sometimes we fail when we want to be the alpha and omega. So you see why we need people. Sometimes my bargain, some people price their way. How much did I do to cover? How much? Then sometimes some of them will tell you, why not jack up your price? We'll still help you deliver so that you can accommodate our price. And then you get people doing that. You know what? Everybody shakes hands. It was a success, isn't it? Yeah. We smile. Nobody will say that you went to hire. What's your business? So I must start posting using my social media handle. Can't I get people that are managing my social media handle? It's not all the time, because some people, that's their focus. Are you getting me? And they are rightly good at it. So someone else might give the solution and ask you to implement. If you implement, you will start looking for what you call implementation partners. Some of us, like what he's doing now, he might need a scout. There are people who look for people, they call them scouts. The scout can help you out. Do you understand? Their job is just the business of referral. Some people call it agency. So those are things that you can do that helps you. You know. So, another question?
How do you challenge your personal feelings when making business decisions?
How do I what?
How do you challenge your personal feelings when making business decisions?
How do I challenge my personal?
How do you make business decisions without allowing your personal feelings to affect you? Stop you from taking the right decision.
Well, sometimes I trick my brain. It's the truth. You have to trick your brain, right? A lot of times, because of the years of experience, you are almost easily going to knock off everything out of logic. Sometimes I dare. So I don't want, well, sometimes I dare, sometimes I try. Are you following me? There are times it doesn't have to be perfect and have the finesse. Because in the name of it being perfect, we don't do things. Yes, I've seen many times where we just check, no, you can't be doing like this now. This is not standard. What is standard? Execution is standard. What is standard? Experience is standard. What is standard? Excellence is standard. But sometimes don't be too hard on the process. So sometimes I just look at it, let's try. Sometimes I don't ask questions because I ask a lot of questions. So if I put people in the mix to do it, I take the work back from them. So I just don't ask some questions so that when we are far into the whole thing, we have put our hand inside the thing. It's for us to finish and then we'll compare notes. What can we do better next time? And I find out that sometimes, most of those times when we did that, we actually had breakthroughs. And sometimes I just appreciate the people. I say, thank you that I did not put my hand to scatter this thing. You understand? Doesn't mean you are not good. But sometimes we stand in the way of progress when we're trying to make sure everything is fine. Well, I'm trying to check up the flight time now, but we can continue. My flight is 5. Do I have what? Okay, so my flight leaves 5:35. Yes. So 5:35. So, do I have a mentor? I have mentors. But then I don't necessarily brandish physical mentors like that because I understand what the definition of a mentor is. There must be a direct relationship. But then because of the type of person I am and the things I do, I've taken mentorship to a different level. And I was saying it on one of the shows that I coordinated some time ago. That for me, I've now made mentorship beyond signing up for a timeline and a process. So sometimes what I do is I create relationships even with what we call character study. So I look at somebody, or I look at someone, historical figure, contemporary figure, and I decide to study that person. That relationship comes from the knowledge of the ways of the person, the wrongs of the person, the worth of the person, the wins of that person. That becomes a relationship to me. So I'm mentored by people's life and lifestyle, even though they start out as a role model. Do you understand? Because just being a role model doesn't make you a mentor. There must be a relational attachment or contractual engagement. You understand? So I use friendships because if I told someone that be my mentor, they don't see anything in them compared to my profile to call themselves my mentor. So to make them not sabotage that process or start faking because of the pressure of the announcement by mentor. So sometimes I go closer to some people, I make friendship goals out of people because there is a part of them that leads me in the direction of an industry or an expertise I need to. So I form it. So sometimes we talk more often and I ask questions and I tell them to ask questions so that we can rapport. So you don't think it's an investigation if I just start asking questions. I make mentorship out of that. And then there are some of my colleagues, contemporaries, right? That they would feel comfortable if I say mentorship because we're at par. Sometimes also they don't want to look at it like I will rate them. It's easier for you to mentor people. You don't know them from Adam. Everything is great to them. But if you are mentoring your colleagues, sometimes some people look like that. You'll be checking what tools do they use. Because although you have a need, you might be checking their style. So this is what you used to charge people for. So no, those things are mental blocks. So sometimes I don't do that. So sometimes genuinely, and that's me, I don't lose anything. Genuinely, I tell them my path, or I tell them my plans, and now subject it to review. Naturally, that's what you do with the mentor. They will talk from the place of colleague and friends, but I will glean from the wisdom as mentor. The most constant person in the mentorship or contractual relationship is you. That's why you can outgrow a mentor. Doesn't mean the person is bad. Doesn't mean the person is less skilled. It's just the appetite of you. You understand? So that's it. But I have one person, and from time to time, that's why I don't push, because sometimes people say, so this is your mentor. I have like one or two people that they know I say it, you are my mentor. Right? One is not in the country, one is in the country, but sometimes it's a bit unreachable because of the kind of demand. But the time we have, right? It's like I sow for harvest. Do you get that kind of thing? I know that I'm not going to see this person in the next, who knows, next month or stuff. So that time I take everything in. And I don't ask many questions. Because I know that if I'm loaded to anything, I don't. Sometimes I turn the situation around. Sometimes I get him to simulate his own way forward and I learn from it, or simulate my own way forward and I learn. I can't forget one of the questions I asked. So when we're talking about something, I said, what do you have for me? Looking at this and this and this, what do you have for me? What's like your counsel? And then I asked him, what would you do? Whatever he says, it's for me to now pick and choose which relates to me. But those are deep questions that elicit information, not just surface questions. So how can I get more customers? Those things don't help. I want him to simulate life, deep thought, deep principles. How does things work? How can you transition from millions to billions within a record calendar time? And I will tell you to use industry models because me, I know how to get to become an industry. But probably what I lack is the industry model and relationships. So by the time he's saying all these things, you now hear specifics. And many times I share some things that people are like, wow, how did you know this thing that happened with this company? It's those in those corridors, based on the information I have heard. Sometimes it's informal setting, just sitting down on a chair and watching them play chess. Even when billionaires are playing chess game, your job is just to watch and listen. And you can't side anybody. When your mother says, is it not true? That move was right. Yeah. The other one says, but you know I beat it. Yes. You need the two people in your life. It's just that one was not made it to know the other. But the two have not given you the billions. My friend, back where you are everybody's friend. Until then. But you see, when with consistency they see you, they're already depositing things in you. You need to meet them. See, people who are high level, the first thing you need to pass is the staying power. Staying power. Don't ask. Just glean. Just be there. The day it will shift, you will say it's too much. Telling you. Let them just wait. And when you suck as you are there, don't suck in silence and invisibility. Suck and show you are also on the go. When you are invisible and suck, it's just because they feel they want to give back. When you are sucking and you are on the go, they see a reflection of them inside you. They see someone who needs to be pushed and lifted. Are you following me? Because they know that, see, most of the time, we don't lack money. It's not money that is our problem. When money hits you, you realize it's not problem. That I'm telling you, most times you waste the money. Our problem is not money. Our problem is we are not sold out. The problem young guys have is a belief problem. The moment you master that part when you are sold out, when money comes, no matter how small, you see how it's amplified. But now you use money to find your belief. You will waste it. Do you have it? You will waste it. First is send belief to yourself to the point that doubt will need visa. You can't find doubt inside you. You say no, I will say yes. Not that to negate you. I'll say yes to myself first. There's no impossibility. Does it mean that bad things won't happen? Does it mean that there will be challenges in business? Those things. But my being will not resonate with doubt. Do you understand? Belief. So if you argue, I remember all the people that said, you must coach me, I'm going to Edo State. Person was saying, no. I said, no problem, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go. Continue. Since you know, why do you need a coach? The person understood. If you are not dead to the process of things around, You are not still. No one can work on you. No one can work on you. But this is a, excuse me.
There's a question here. Say, how do I attract commensurate or higher rewards for the value I offer? I feel I'm not getting money value return from my customers.
How do we know that you are not being greedy? And you are not waiting for the process. Sometimes we feel deserving. The what you, excuse me. Some of us, we are greedy. You read people's story, you read people's biography, you see people's results, and you want it to happen to you now. Do you understand? So I don't know, but the truth is, how do you attract commensurate reward? Number one, you must have the right position. Number two, you must have the power of consistency. There's a particular sector I was dealing with when I started, a lot of people would just want to pick your brain and not pay for the value. I understood that that's the only way. If you like this, what do you want to do? Even when you reduce the price, it didn't change it. So it's not about price reduction. The differentiation was not the price, the differentiation was trust and time. So the earlier you get people to trust you, the better for you. The earlier you prove time of worth, the better for you. Are you getting me? So a lot of people don't know that. They just want to trade. And how do you get people to trust you? Number one, they must see you. A lot of times we don't even see some people that are behind a particular product. So that product is going to suffer. Number two, when they see you, they must like you. So you must work on your likability. Are you getting me? And as they like you from what they see, it must be true to what they feel. Don't project something too big than what you communicate. Do you understand? And don't make sure you communicate what is too big than what they see. Once there's a mismatch, they can't trust you. Are you following me? Even when you name products or you name programs, let's say you are the one in the services of all those trainings, you know some of these trainings you do. A millionaire in 48 hours. Hey, it's not that it's not possible. It's not that it's not possible. But we'll also look at the person. I'll look at the person. Nobody has greeted you on your birthday that is a millionaire. Hey, alert, danger, danger. You don't know millionaires, they don't know you. You don't have something you are selling. You are new on the block. I don't think you'll be there for a while. You understand? It's too much a message that is not making it rhyme with your image. And it's not that you don't have the answers. No. See, you know there are many people who can make someone millionaires. These themselves are millions. Yes. To receive wealth is something you need to learn and train and get to be trained. You can make wealth and not receive wealth. You can make wealth for people and not receive wealth for yourself. That's a different dilemma. I discovered that many years later after starting business. Your business, you can wire it in such a way it's never positioned to get. I'm telling you, it's not village people, it's you. Are you following me? Yes. And some people like this touch and go. So they make some success, they go, and then they come back for a bigger plan to make success. Sometimes touch and go does not make you consistent though. And so when you now come for the bigger part of your sequence, it doesn't convert to you. You know why? Because you didn't position yourself for receiving. For you to be receiving, you have to always be there. Imagine you are not sure if there will be next Sunday service. You will not pay tithe now. Because you don't know if the church will open. But you know church is always there, online or offline. So you know naturally you should always pay your tithe. I'm just using that as a common illustration. It's the same thing to the person. So I think that's the first thing that person must begin to look at. How do I communicate value that I'm consistent? I position myself properly, and probably let them experience a measure of who I am or what I can offer. Right? There's a model I use for when I work with people in my handler service. My handler service is like a premium professional support that merges consulting, merges coaching, mentoring together in one. So in my handler service, the first thing I do for all the people I handle, I start them on the obvious expert model, where I must make every one of them become the obvious expert of what they do. It must be obvious. Or else, all those lofty dreams and ideas will find difficulty. In fact, what you would have done is you would have made popular the alternative to you. You make people clear, you will be the education of the alternative. Do you understand? So people just say, oh, this is why I need Osai instead of me.
I remember somebody sharing that she came into MBT while she was looking at a particular person base. And who is teaching this person? All of a sudden, the person talked about it and said, let me just go for the fish. And blessings.
Yeah. So most of the time, this is it. This always have the abundance mentality. You know, sometimes things come in at the last hour. Huh? Sometimes things come in at the last hour. Don't say that we mean at this thing. See, sometimes things come in at the last hour. And when you begin to move away from seeking after to being sought after, don't take the process for granted. Try to document the point where things shifted. Zone in on that thing. Success always leaves clues. It always leaves clues. Any other question?
So, from what you've been saying so far, last year when I went for ourselves, I did something critical resources. So over the years, I've been learning more and more about it, and I've been buying courses towards that. But still, I have not transited in teaching people. But I found out that even what the courses I buy, what I do is even more than what they are doing. Like if I buy this one, I know this. Like if I buy this one, I know this one. But still, I don't still feel capable enough to deliver what I already have. So I'm seeing it as a problem. I don't know how to go about it. So transiting and delivering what I already know.
So you're asking what do you do? Well, I don't think by all means you must always teach people because everybody's teaching people. But by all means you must always have a course because everybody's having a course. Sometimes you ask yourself, what can I do with the knowledge I know? You are teaching courses and I've looked at all the courses. But you can actually tell people that have been going for those courses just like, if you are looking for execution of the knowledge you gain from this course, I can help you. So you can be a cryptocurrency or you can be a blockchain support consultant where you only support. Okay. So you can talk about to those people that look, if you ever have learned blockchain or you are desire of learning blockchain and you want to go into it big time, I'm that go-to guy. All I do is I support people who have learned this thing. And you can partner with people who are teaching people and say, if you get these guys done, just bring them as a funnel to you. That might even make you make much more money and make you feel fulfilled. But if you go through the same rat race, you get people and after the end of the day, they are empowered, but they don't get the result. And now it's like this thing, and that's why a lot of times things die. And then how do you make sure that you don't feel sabotaging yourself? Do a math on what you've registered for. Do the cost. Put it there, let it stay in your place. How much have you invested? How much hours have you invested? How much money have you invested? And then how much would you have invested if in a space of 5 months you would have earned? Give yourself 5 reasons why you shouldn't be one of those people. Give yourself 5 reasons. Can you come up with 5 reasons why you shouldn't be part of those people who are thriving on that field? The moment you can give yourself 5 reasons, why you shouldn't be part of those people, don't do blockchain again. Run away from it for life. Because it means you don't deserve that. But if you can't find 5 reasons why you shouldn't be one of those people, that's the day your eyes will open. And your greatest critic. Refine yourself, polish yourself, get started. Simple. But sometimes clarity only comes when you give it a try. But don't just try, go with the plan to win big. Right? So he said I should tell you guys about the growth story retreat. So starting tomorrow, actually, I'm going to start a series of let me call it intervention. I'm going to start a series called the Growth Story Retreat. It's actually a product line that is blending, just coming together like a retreat, but then it's a growth storming. So instead of brainstorming, it's called growth storming. So we're storming our way into growth. So I've decided to come together and bring together individuals who are not just trying to set goals for the year. It's not a goal setting meeting. So if you think it's goal setting, I'll bust your bubble. It's a growth storming. So we're going to tabulate out, stipulate how we can get to the place of growth. I'm going to demystify growth in that retreat, right? And the goal is so that one of the things I'll be doing in those 2 days, I'm doing it in Lagos. Lagos is starting tomorrow and Friday. So we have Lagos. People are joining us from across the world because there's the virtual and then there's the physical in Lagos. So after Lagos, so Lagos is 10th and 11th, Abuja is 15th and 16th. And Port Harcourt is 18th and 19th, and Calabar is 21st and 22nd. So those are the 4 places I'm going to by the end of the year. So, and really, it's the same content, but of course, different experience from time to time, different people. But then what we are going to do is we're going to be looking at things like business expression, business expansion, explosion, business expression, business, all the growth curve, the dimension of growth, the layers and levels of growth, how to define your market, how to prospect market, how to become an enabler, how to amplify. We're going to be talking about how to move from thoughts to sector. That's thoughts, things, business, industry, subsector, and economy. We're going to be looking at all that in those 2 days. It's going to be hands-on. There's morning, afternoon, and night session. All the night sessions are live. So we have night session, whether you are physically present or not. The night sessions is a Zoom platform session. So it's a bit intimate, so we didn't push it like a public event, but people register for it. So it's people who are ready. It's not a talk shop where you want to hear. You're going to see how growth happens. And one of the things we're going to do when we start the session, especially for tomorrow, is we're going to show how powerful the individual is, right? How you can make a city, how you can make a country, how you can make a continent. We're going to be doing that. How many of you have seen The Men Who Built America? Yeah. You've seen the part 1 to 6. You know what it means. We're going to dissect the dynamics of it at the retreat. Right? How many of you have seen how Africa was split? You've not seen the story of Africa. No. How Africa was, we're going to look at that and we're going to translate that into business and trade. Understanding capitalist mentality, right? And leveraging. Doing that as well. So the Growth Storming Retreat is an opportunity. You can be a part of it, except you want to come physically to Lagos. Nothing is impossible. But you can be a part of it virtually. You can be a part of it physically or join a location next to you. So Port Harcourt is 18th, 19th, Abuja is 15th, 16th, Calabar is 21st and 22nd. So that's that for that. So those who are watching online, you check my Instagram page, or if you send a message physically, we can send you details on how to register, and then we'll send you the link by midnight or by morning tomorrow. It starts 9 a.m. daily and ends 5 p.m. daily. But then the night session starts about 7 or 8. So, do we have questions still from there or from?
What is your criteria for coaching people?
Now she's talking. Can you see? Somebody give the Lord a big hand. What's my criteria for coaching people? One word: readiness. You have to be mentally ready, because I don't want people who give me excuses. I am nice, but I am hard. Number two, you have to be ready, right? In terms of time and availability. Very important. No excuses. Of course, you have to be ready in terms of your commitment, which might mean sometimes the resource required, right? But then I've also patterned my coaching in different layers. So I have what I call Unleash. It's a 10-day execution plan. If you are not ready to unleash in 10 days, don't bother. Don't bother. That's one. But then I have the process coaching, which is majorly maybe on a project. I have an enabling session that I'm rebranding now. It's called Ginger Me. So that Ginger Me is just 1 hour. It's just like just want to clear your head. You just want something like a boost. It's an enabling session. It's 1 hour. Most times it's a bundle of 3 sessions. So I always recommend that people do. But if you do it at one session, it's expensive. Because if you need more, you pay. So for one session, it's about 75K. Just an hour. But if you do the 3 session, it doesn't have to be 3 times. It can be one session elongated. Most times I bring it down to 150, meaning that what you would have done for 210, you get for 150. And then the professional under services, I will work and handhold you for a year. But if I tell you the price, you might be scared.
According to us, as suppose that now what the strategy for? We have 185 staffs.
Okay, like you.
Yeah. So what is the strategy for? I'm playing a step down. Our staff, you are the same with us. Most of this information is inside the shape.
Well, that's where visioning comes into it, right? Apart from your overall vision, right? You need to come to a point where this type of move, you create visioning for it. That vision is where everybody has to come through an alignment. In some cases, in consulting, I'm sure in training, he knows, we call it workforce activation. We're activating our workforce, number one, to align with the vision. And when they align with the vision, then we can now develop them based on what the vision demands of them. Because there's always power in vision. They need to know why we are going in this direction, this period in time. Do you understand? So conversations will take place, brainstorming will take place, because they need to own it. Else, it's your stuff. You went for a program, no be me go. So they don't understand why it's fresh fire. So when they own it, then they begin to now take a shot from it, fragment of it, and now build a vision from that fragment. Because then they now say, oh, this is the vision based on what we understand, and based on best practice, this is how we deliver it. So you guys will now be looking at them as people who have envisioned this new vision, right? And then you all the time monitor for alignment. And sometimes if you look at what is prevalent before now, you can say, you know what, because of this, we'll read the Riot Act. This far, no further. There must be consequence management introduced, where if we don't do this thing, guys, this is what will happen. And if we do it, this is what will happen. What you said reminded me of a client of mine. So they wanted to increase their turnover. They normally have like about 2 billion every year. So we had to talk about, they almost get up to 2 billion. So let me not say 2 billion, right? So the conversation was that, okay, we need to increase our turnover, and then the team did that. We want whatever we earn monthly, right? We want to earn 4 times more than that. Whatever we earn yearly. So the goal was about 4 billion plus, which means you also need to trace it from your monthly earnings. So we came up with a mantra, and the mantra was 4 times more. Whatever we're doing in the organization, we're doing it what? So we trained more. The MPR was much more extended. It wasn't just hey, what happened this month? We standardized their process. We create activation. As in, the industry felt Just small company. They felt the activity of what this guy did. They didn't eventually clock the 4 times more. They grew their balance sheet, but for the first time, they grew beyond balance sheet alone. Most times, it's always the figures that grew. They grew in knowledge, they grew in process, they grew in product creation and development, and they grew in market presence and visibility. For that man, that was more than 4 billion. Because when they valued their goodwill in the market, it jumped by 65%. And a lot of time, we always only look at money. Accountants will tell you there are many things that also has monetary value, but it doesn't come out as cash. You can take their name to the bank. Companies were asking. That's when I knew that time. That's what I was saying about Coca-Cola. When I knew the challenge Coca-Cola had. Companies were coming to them and saying, "Can you help us resuscitate? Can you help us introduce product into this market?" They're a beverage company, right? And they were into sales, marketing, and distribution. They opened doors. That's when I knew some things that then it was good in this country. Do you understand? However, it was because they understood that growth is not one dimension. Do you understand? So sometimes for us, that's what will happen. And then when you see your people can breathe a new form of fresh air, then you can now do what? Defragmentize them more, decentralize them more. And that's also another form of growth, decentralization. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So from time to time, it works that way. Why are you not asking me question? Ask question. I tell people you must ask 35 questions a day, minimum. 35. And how are you is not a question. You don't chop. It's not a question. How is that? There is mommy. 35 questions. Because you must gravitate towards having answers. Oh, it's 4. Almost 4. It's not far from Edo. Oh, it's far.
This is not a question because what you learned to I read about you
You read about me?
I read your profile on LinkedIn.
Oh.
So I read about this team masters, and I understand started from 2000. Then you didn't start with consulting, management consulting.
What did I start with?
From what I could do there.
Okay, so it's your friend.
Schools and training schools and all of that. So I want to know, how did you move from that level of training schools, particularly training other organizations that are outside the educational sector?
Okay, so when we started in 2006, we started purely management consulting. And we started with training, we started with banks, right? But because we couldn't get the business, we're almost like implementation experts. So someone gets the business and brings us in. We had to now redesign our business model. And one of the things I discovered early enough, which also helped us, was I told myself and I told people in my organization that I wanted us to have a sector of dominance, which is where education came in. That regardless of what our expertise and exposure is about, there must be a sector that you can say, I hold in my field, is my constituent. That's where my proof will be. That's where I will do my best of work. That's where I'll do my best of CSR. That's where I'll do my test running of all the things I know. So that if someone says this principle and this philosophy, where did you get it from? I say, I've done this in this place with this proof. And it worked. So we went into education and we started dealing with the different value chain of education. We started a competition and we started bankrolling that competition across the different states, spelling bee competition. And then we went further, we started training teachers, and then we started giving advisory service and strategy service for school heads and regulators. When we saw those things, we started doing research within education. We did a 10-year research. And by the time it was about 2000 and let's just say 2010, 2011, let's say 2010, we began to unveil some of the things we've done. That's when I discovered that a lot of people still don't know till now that most people just call education. When you say education, everybody thinks about schools. That's when I was able to dissect it, that education is a sector only when you're not talking about, when you're talking about the nation's economy. But when you're not talking about the nation's economy, education is a sphere. It has sectors, a minimum of 64 sectors. In each of those sectors, there are industries. For example, the school sector, I always share with people, there are at least 23 industries in the school sector. And for you to be an industry, it's a minimum of 5 businesses that make an industry. Based on economics, a minimum of 5 industries make a sector. Do you understand? So those are things that happen. So how do you cross carpet? That's where you understand that you create special arrangement, but based on your expertise, based on what you are called to do. Do you understand? So most of the things I do is development and based on growth. So sometimes it's cut across industries. It doesn't mean that you can't stay put in an industry, and you can be in an industry and you drill down and do several things within that industry. So don't always be jumping everywhere. There's gold everywhere if you know how to mine it. So don't be everywhere, right? So thank you very much. So it's been a great time meeting with you guys, connecting with you guys. Thank you. Thank you, everyone online.
Okay, thank you.